Previously in chapters 1601 to 1620, following his 70-year Dream Dao journey, Wang Lin awakens with 6 perfected essences: thunder, fire, karma, life and death, true and false, and slaughter. He returns to a besieged planet Suzaku, just as the inner realm's defense is about to collapse under the assault of Heaven Master Void God. With the authoritative aura of a grand scholar, Wang Lin's mere command forces third-step experts to retreat in terror, signaling the return of the true Lord of the Sealed Realm. Rather than a standard ascension, Wang Lin embarks on an unprecedented path to the third step. He summons all the thunder and fire from every star system in both the inner and outer realms to repeatedly shatter the Void Gate. By refusing to absorb the gate and Appo's power immediately, he forces it to reform stronger each time, intending to break it 6 times, once for every essence he possesses. After obliterating the first 2 gates with cosmic-scale elemental storms, his aura skyrockets to mid-stage Nirvana Void before the breakthrough is even complete. This legendary display of power leaves both allies and enemies in awe, marking the birth of a sovereign who will redefine the laws of the universe. He didn't absorb the power, and he didn't even think about doing so. Right now, he wanted the Void Gate to erupt and for his cultivation to increase greatly after reaching the third step. If he absorbed the power of the Void Gate now, he would immediately become a mid-stage Nirvana Void cultivator. However, he didn't want this was merely 2 essences. As Wang Lin pointed, an angry roar seemed to come from the vortex formed by the collapsed Void Gate. As the vortex rapidly rotated, the third Void Gate appeared. However, just as the third Void Gate appeared, the 4th Void Gate appeared as well. And after the 4th Void Gate, another one appeared. This was the 5th gate. 3 Void Gates appeared in the world at once. From afar this looked shocking. The surrounding tens of thousands of cultivators seemed to lose their consciousness. The only thing left was fear and terror. 3 Void Gates. What the hell is he doing? After spending so much effort to open the Void Gate, even among the 5 masters of the ancient star system, I have never heard of someone who can do this. Lord of the Sealed Realm. Lord of the Sealed Realm. Wang Lin's expression was calm as he looked at the 3 Void Gates. He stepped forward and charged like a meteor toward the 3 Void Gates as everyone watched. Car! As Wang Lin charged forward, his right hand stretched out with his fingers spread out in a palm. The moment the closed in on the gate, his right hand pressed down. Ma! The moment his hand pressed down, his voice echoed and eventually formed the last word. Print. Karma print. Wang Lin had spent more than 70 years in the Dream Dao comprehending this through karma. His was his 5th original spell. The moment he said print, his right hand pressed down on the 3rd Void Gate and there was a flash of coldness in his eyes. His fingers gripped hard, and with a bang, his hand closed to form a fist. It was as if this grip had grabbed the karma of the world. Wang Lin's right hand pulled back from the gate. He jerked outward and a distorted Void Gate shadow seemed to be dragged out by Wang Lin. The moment he raised his right hand, a rumble came from the 3rd Void Gate. Crackling sounds echoed and cracks spread from where Wang Lin's hand was, covering the entire Void Gate. Then with a bang the entire gate shattered into countless fragments. The 3rd Void Gate collapsed. The moment this Void Gate collapsed, Wang Lin's laughter echoed and the karma essence surrounded his body. The aura around him increased greatly, from mid-stage Nirvana Void to late-stage Nirvana Void. Since ancient times, no one had ever done this while breaking open the Void Gate. Wang Lin didn't stop there. When the 3rd Void Gate shattered, he stepped through the fragments. He arrived before the fourth void gate and both his hands pressed down. Life and death seal. Wang Lin's left hand was filled with white gas, and the moment it landed, it rushed into the void gate, occupying half of it. At the same time, black gas spread out from Wang Lin's right hand and swept through the void gate. The black and white gases began to rotate together, and the void gate trembled violently. When Wang Lin said life and death seal, his eyes were filled with a sense of pride that looked down upon the world. His two hands pulled to the sides. Open for me. As Wang Lin roared, his hands seemed to contain the power of life and death. The fourth void gate trembled violently and collapsed. The fourth void gate collapsed. The moment this gate collapsed, Wang Lin's aura erupted once more. It went from late-stage Nirvana Void to peak Nirvana Void. He was now standing at the peak of Nirvana Void. A crack was about to appear between his eyebrows. The inside of the crack was black, and it looked as if contained another world. This was unique to Spirit Void cultivators, their own Joss Flame realm to nurture Joss Flame souls. They could even force others to worship them and become their Joss Flame slaves. Wang Lin had opened the Void Gate by himself without the help of Joss Flames. As a result, the crack between his eyebrows was not a Joss Flame world but his own world. Even without Joss Flames, he could still force someone to worship him. At this moment, the crack hadn't opened completely as his cultivation level was not high enough. As he laughed, he waved his sleeve and pushed away the fragments of the Void Gate back. What appeared before him was the fifth Void Gate. This fifth Void Gate was even more condensed and real than before. It stood there, but Wang Lin didn't rip it apart with his hands. Instead, his eyes revealed a shocking gaze as he looked at the fifth gate. Then he closed his eyes. With his eyes closed, everything in the world in Wang Lin's heart became false. As long as his heart and his thoughts remained, then everything would remain. After closing his eyes for a moment, Wang Lin suddenly opened them. The moment he opened his eyes, everything in the world that was false became true. This was the spell he had comprehended from the true and false essence, true and false path. The fifth void gate existed among the stars, but Wang Lin closed his eyes again. He raised his right hand and waved. It was a simple wave. However, before everyone's eyes, the fifth gate distorted and turned to dust with Wang Lin's wave. It silently collapsed before Wang Lin. Wang Lin had broken open all 5 void gates one by one. The crack that had faintly appeared between Wang Lin's eyebrows formed completely and gave off an endless suction force. It was as if the star system itself was going to be sucked in. The extremely powerful aura of a spirit void cultivator spread out from Wang Lin. If he was satisfied, then he could absorb the power of the void gate and become an early-stage spirit void cultivator. But how could he be? This was only 5 essences. He still had the slaughter essence Qing Shui had gifted him. The complete slaughter essence he had just absorbed would allow him to trigger the void gate a 6th time. Him casually breaking the void gate with karma, ripping it open with life and death, and turning it to dust with true and false terrified the cultivators that saw this. It was unknown who reacted first, but a terrified scream echoed and that person retreated like crazy. A moment later, almost all the outer realm cultivators escaped in all directions. They were afraid. Seeing how easy it was for Wang Lin to break the void gate, they had to feel fear. Their fear had reached an extreme. When he first broke the void gate with thunder, it was okay. When he burned the gate with fire, it was still acceptable. But in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th times, the 3 gates collapsed to a palm, a press, and a wave. In particular, the last one, where Wang Lin only closed his eyes, opened them, and closed them to cause the void gate to dissipate, had exceeded the imagination of all the outer realm cultivators. The green-robed young man retreated in terror. Although he was at the arcane void stage, he was only at the early stage. When Wang Lin broke the 3 void gates in a row, he saw some clues. Karma, life and death, true and false. He actually went on to comprehend those grand ethereal das. This person can't be provoked. He can't be provoked. Essences were split between corporeal and ethereal. Fire was corporeal, but karma was ethereal. Comprehending ethereal essences was much more difficult. 6th essence, slaughter essence. Wang Lin's voice was calm, but it contained a shocking slaughter aura. As his words echoed, red snowflakes appeared out of thin air and spread out. As the red snowflakes drifted, the 6th void gate suddenly appeared. This sixth void gate was completely different from the other 5. It was made of white bones. At a glance, this was not a door but a huge skull. Its bizarre appearance slowly appeared before Wang Lin. Then a ripple spread out in all directions. Any cultivator hit by this ripple immediately trembled and aged rapidly. Nearly 10,000 people didn't even scream before dying of old age thanks to this ripple. Then they turned to dust. 10,000 Void Bone Gate. Only 2 people here recognized this gate. One was Heaven Master Void God and the other was Master South Cloud. Not even the green-robed young man had ever heard of it before. This appearance, this White Bone Gate. Could it be the legendary 10,000 Void Bone Gate? Heaven Master Void Gate looked at the skull-like gate and endless horror filled his eyes. The Celestial Imperial Concubine said that the 10,000 Void Bone Gate was a huge gap to cross. People that can trigger this gate are extremely rare. But as long as they don't die, they will definitely become a powerful master in the future. 10,000 Void Bone Gate. The previous Lord of the Sealed Realm said that anyone who can trigger this gate to enter the 3rd step will have an unimaginable future. He said that this bone gate is not something of this world, but a sign of the heavens in his hometown. Master South Cloud looked at the strange bone gate with disbelief in his eyes. Wang Lin didn't know that it was the 10,000 Void Bone Gate, but he felt that this gate was strange and his eyes narrowed. He looked at the giant gate before him and a flash of killing intent appeared in his eyes. No matter how strange this gate was to Wang Lin, it was all the same, merely a gate to reach the 3rd step. He leaned forward and raised his right hand. The red snowflakes scattered across the area quickly gathered toward his right hand. An instant later, Wang Lin's right hand gave off an endless red light. His hand became a blood palm. The dazzling red light gave off a cold killing intent that permeated the area. The surrounding cultivators were all shocked by this aura, and they didn't dare to escape. Slaughter essence, Wang Lin muttered as he rushed forward toward the bone gate. In a flash, Wang Lin closed in and his right hand slammed toward the gate. There was a thunderous bang and a giant blood handprint appeared on the 10,000 Void Bone Gate. This blood palm print contained all of Wang Lin's slaughter and all of Qing Shui's slaughter. This slaughter had already become a type of essence. There seemed to be countless ghosts howling within the blood palm, wanting to rush out. However, they couldn't escape and turned toward the Void Gate. Thunderous rumbles echoed like crazy. The 10,000 Void Bone Gate was indeed not ordinary. Before the slaughter essence and its countless raging ghosts, it only trembled. A few cracks appeared, but it didn't collapse. Not only did it not collapse, but a rebound force erupted toward Wang Lin. There was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes. The more difficult the gate was to open, the more interested he became. He retreated a few steps and let out a laugh before pointing at the sky. Determination filled his eyes. Thunder. In an instant, thunder filled the world and shot toward the Void Gate. Fire. Fire raged as a storm and burned everything. Karma print. Wang Lin opened and closed his right hand. Life and death seal. He raised his left hand and his 2 hands closed. True and false Tao. Wang Lin closed his eyes, and when he reopened them, a powerful aura filled his body. This was the aura of a grand scholar. This aura fused with his early-stage spirit void aura and then he took a step forward. His right hand formed a fist and he punched toward the Void Gate. 6 essences opened the Void Gate. Wang Lin let out a roar as he closed in on the Void Gate like a ray of light. Then his right hand landed on the 10,000 Void Bone Gate with a bang. This punch contained the expectations of Wang Lin's 2,000 years of cultivation. This punch was his full power with 6 complete essences. This punch was his determination to make himself stronger to revive Li Muwen. This punch was his entrance into the 3rd step. Thunderous rumbles echoed across the stars. The giant bone gate trembled and cracks spread rapidly. In just a moment it collapsed. This was the 6th gate. He had blown open 6 void gates at once. There was no longer any force that could stop Wang Lin from reaching the 3rd step. The moment the gate shattered, an infinitely large vortex appeared. A surge of void gate power vast like the sea rushed out and entered Wang Lin's body. Under this power from the void gate, popping sounds came from his body. The 6 essences in his body rapidly fused and the aura around him rapidly increased from early-stage spirit void. It went directly from early-stage spirit void to mid-stage spirit void. As the Void Gate's power entered his body, Wang Lin's body was constantly being refined. His body broke through some kind of limit and took the step past the peak of the second step. This step was a step into the third step. This step wasn't just an increase in his aura, but his cultivation had also reached the third step. From now on, Wang Lin was a third-step cultivator. The popping sounds in his body, the endless roar in his mind, and the extremely comfortable feeling from his body was like him going through a metamorphosis. His entire body was evolving. The first step of cultivation, from qi condensation to ascendant, was allow a cultivator's body to be reborn. Then, when they reached the nirvana scryer stage, they would be able to absorb origin energy. The third step was the second time a cultivator was reborn. His body would expand infinitely, so it would be no different from the world itself. This step was extremely heaven-defying as it melted the talent of a cultivator. For third-step cultivators, there was no longer talent, only comprehension. The 6 essences continued to fuse. When the thunder and fire essences fused, Wang Lin's cultivation level climbed from early-stage nirvana void to mid-stage nirvana void. When the karma essence fused in, his cultivation level increased to late-stage nirvana void. When life and death followed and the true and false essences merged, Wang Lin's cultivation level broke through the peak of nirvana void and reached early-stage spirit void. Wang Lin's cultivation level continued to increase, and the pressure spread out, catching everyone's attention. Killing intent appeared in Heaven Master Void God's eyes, and with a roar he rushed forward. The Void Gate was there earlier, so he couldn't attack, but now that it was gone, he had to kill Wang Lin. He had a feeling that if he didn't kill Wang Lin today, he would never have another chance. The appearance of the 10,000 Void Bone Gate had caused his scalp to go numb. At this moment he gave it his all. Even if he lost his avatar, he wouldn't care. The grudge between him and Wang Lin was life and death. If Wang Lin didn't die today, he would die in the future. He is now fusing his essences. It is the best time to kill him. Once they fully fuse, I fear not even early-stage arcane void cultivators would be his match. We can't allow him to live. The green-robed young man had the same thought. He was already retreating when he saw Heaven Master Void God act. He clenched his teeth and his eyes turned bloodshot. He surrounded his body with endless ice and then charged at Wang Lin. There was also Zhou Jin, who was scared out of his wits. However, he was still a third-step cultivator and the ancestor of the Blood Wolf clan. With a desperate expression, he let out roar and a blood wolf tens of thousands of feet large appeared. These actions caused Master South Cloud and company to rush forward, disregarding the injuries they had suffered. However, at this moment, a gentle voice echoed in their ears like a spring breeze. No problem. Although this voice was soft, it contained an indisputable force that stopped Master South Cloud and company. They looked at the vortex that had appeared after the Void Gate collapsed. Wang Lin was absorbing the power from the Void Gate, while Heaven Master Void God's group of 3 were closing in on him. Wang Lin was using the power of the Void Gate to fuse the 6th slaughter essence. The moment those 3 closed in, Wang Lin pointed at them. Stop! This spell was used after reaching the 3rd step and absorbing the power of the Void Gate. The world changed, and it seemed as if the stars themselves had been frozen. Wang Lin had also used the unused chaotic Dao intent from the 3 Dao fruits in this stop spell. With this, Zhou Jin's body trembled and he couldn't move half a step. The green-robed young man also felt endless Dao intent hold himself and was unable to move. Only Heaven Master Void God could still move forward, but his spell slowed down. Just at this moment, Wang Lin moved. He had spent his life in slaughter and was not afraid of fighting. He directly charged at the green-robed young man and closed and opened his eyes. A moment of confusion appeared in the green-robed young man's eyes. During this moment of confusion, Wang Lin raised his right hand and opened it up. Then he pressed down and his fingers closed as if he was grabbed something. Karma print. The green-robed man trembled. Then he coughed out blood and was knocked back. He was at the early stage of arcane void, but with years of battle and injuries that hadn't healed, he could only use peak spirit void cultivation. Now that he was frozen by the stop spell, he had no chance of resisting. As Wang Lin raised his right hand, a blob of mist flew toward. No one could say what it was, but when the mist left the green-robed young man's body, his body trembled violently. His eyes widened and his face distorted in pain. What was pulled out was a karma force, a Tao force. What was pulled out was the green-robed young man's essence. That mist quickly changed in Wang Lin's hand. In a short period of time it turned to ice several times, trying to escape, but Wang Lin held on tight. The karma print was extremely tyrannical. Essence was also a part of karma. The person was the karmic cause, their cultivation was karmic fate, and forming their essence and reaching the third step was karmic effect. At this moment Wang Lin's white hair fluttered and he was calm. He looked like the sovereign did in the past, attacking with grand Tao. My essence is karma. My palm is karmic cause and my closed fist is karmic effect. Since it wasn't easy for you to reach your cultivation level, I won't kill you today. I'll take your essence and seal it for 1,000 years. Now leave the battlefield. Wang Lin's eyes seemed to contain the heavens and earth. A powerful aura erupted from his body and landed in the eyes of the green-robed young man. The green-robed young man trembled and his mind rumbled. He coughed out blood once more, and as Wang Lin waved his sleeve, he was forced to retreat more than 10,000 feet away. His eyes were dim and filled with monstrous terror. What kind of spell is this? Wang Lin closed his eyes, and when he opened them once more, he calmly said one word. Scram! He didn't roar and was extremely calm, but when the green-robed young man heard this, it was as if the world was about to collapse around him. His mind trembled as if a force had rushed into his body and was going to tear his origin soul apart. Feeling terrified, the green-robed young man escaped like crazy as blood flowed out from his mouth. He hadn't lost his whole essence, but Wang Lin had taken out a majority of it, which terrified him. He had never heard of this kind of spell before, but he vaguely knew that the sovereigns fishing the moon in the well had a similar power. His heart trembled and was filled with reluctance while he retreated. He thought that if he had kept his cultivation at its peak, it wouldn't have been so easy for Wang Lin to extract his essences. This old man has arcane void cultivation. This old man will not accept this. He roared in his mind and heart, but he didn't reveal any of it as he quickly escaped. All of this happened in an instant. Wang Lin had forced the green-robed young man back. Then Wang Lin turned toward Heaven Master Void God, who was slowed down by the stop spell and was filled with killing intent. Let's deal with what happened back then. Wang Lin's gaze was cold, but he remained calm. He looked at Heaven Master Void God and walked over. Myriad Red Cloud Void Tao. Master Heaven Void God let out a roar and his hands formed a seal. He waved his hand and a giant rift appeared behind him. Endless Joss flames rushed out and created countless glowing red clouds. Giant statues appeared from within the red clouds. Suppress this person into the reincarnation of the world. Let him fall into the abyss among the stars so that his soul can't move an inch. Heaven Master Void God roared as he pointed with his finger. The statues all glowed as they smashed down on Wang Lin, as if they were trying to bury him among the stars. At this moment, a giant vortex appeared below Wang Lin. This vortex was formed by a spell, and countless ghosts flew out of it. They let out mournful cries as their bodies extended and surrounded Wang Lin. They wanted to pull him into the vortex. At this moment, the vortex from when the Void Gate collapsed was still there. From afar, it was an extremely shocking scene as Wang Lin had a vortex above and below him. Aside from the two vortexes, 10,000 glowing status were smashing toward Wang Lin. It looks like Wang Lin was completely trapped inside Heaven Master Void God's spell. Die for me. Heaven Master Void God had a ferocious expression and raised his right hand. Purple mist gathered and formed a lance in his hand. He grabbed the lance and threw it at Wang Lin. As a thunderous rumble echoed, the lance carried with it endless mist and shot toward the trapped Wang Lin. In the distance, the green-robed man stopped for a moment and struggled to turn around to look at the trapped Wang Lin. He let out a roar, abandoned his escape and stepped toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin remained calm. As the 10,000 statues smashed toward him, he closed his eyes and stepped forward. He wasn't fast, but hundreds of statues had closed in on him. However, just as they arrived, they went through his body. It was unknown whether it was Wang Lin who had become an illusion, or if it was the statues themselves. Thunderous rumbles echoed as the countless statue fell, but when they got close to Wang Lin, they seemed to become transparent and went through him. Then the rumbling continued behind Wang Lin. This caused Heaven Master Void God's pupils to shrink. Wang Lin's steps didn't look fast, but he instantly arrived before Heaven Master Void God. He raised his right hand and didn't even care what spell Heaven Master Void God was using as his right hand pressed down. Life and death seal. His left hand was life and his right hand was death. Wang Lin's right hand landed and black gas surrounded his palms. Although his palm had landed in the void, it caused Heaven Master Void God's expression to change. He clearly sensed that Wang Lin's palm contained the aura of death. When the palm landed, there seemed to be an absence of life within the surrounding star domain. It was as if this area had become a dead domain. The moment it became a death domain, countless cracks appeared in the space around him and collapsed. Endless amounts of death aura rushed out toward him. Heaven Master Void God's body was knocked back hundreds of feet with a bang, and then he looked up. However, just as he looked up, Wang Lin pointed at him. "Stop!" Heaven Master Void God's body slowed down once more. He let out a roar and was about to break the stop spell around him and get out of this quagmire-like state. But how could Wang Lin give him this chance? Wang Lin closed in an instant and arrived before Heaven Master Void God. Wang Lin lifted his finger and pointed to between Heaven Master Void God's eyebrows. Thunder! With that, Wang Lin's right index finger seemed to turn into a bolt of eternal thunder. This destructive thunder contained the power of all the thunder from the inner and outer realms. This point was powerful enough to kill third-step cultivators. Even though Heaven Master Void God was one of the 5 masters and his cultivation level was extremely high, this was only one of his avatars. It was only at the early stage of arcane void. As a result, this power of thunder could still hurt him. With one point, Heaven Master Void God's body trembled. A flash of silver appeared between his eyebrows and countless flashes of silver spread out. In an instant, it spread over his entire body, and a thunderous rumble echoed. Blood flowed out from the corner of Heaven Master Void God's mouth and he was pushed back. Just as he retreated, Wang Lin stepped forward once more. Wang Lin's right thumb extended and landed between Heaven Master Void God's eyebrows again. Fire! As the thunderous rumbles echoed, destructive fire spread out from between his eyebrows like the silver thunder. The fire spread across this body, rushed toward his mind and burned his soul. The pain of having both the inside and outside of his body burnt caused Heaven Master Void God's face to become distorted. He coughed out a large mouthful of blood. However, it wasn't over yet. A flash of killing intent appeared in Wang Lin's eyes. He raised his right hand and formed a palm. Then he pressed down on Heaven Master Void God's forehead, and his fingers closed in to form a fist. Karma! An essence was pulled out by Wang Lin. The continuous attacks didn't give Heaven Master Void God any chance to resist. With the stop spell, Wang Lin was like heavens itself. Life and death. Wang Lin lifted both his hand. His left hand was life, and it pressed down on Heaven Master Void God's chest. Heaven Master Void God's old body suddenly radiated youth and became younger. However, just as Wang Lin's right hand fell, the youth collapsed. Life and death erupted inside Heaven Master Void God's body, as if they were going to rip his body apart. Heaven Master Void God bled from all his orifices and his expression became even more ferocious. He was one of the 5 masters of the ancient star system. His dignity wouldn't allow him to yield. With a roar, his body trembled and he broke free from the stop spell. The moment the stop spell was broken, his full cultivation erupted. However, Wang Lin still remained calm. The moment Heaven Master Void God broke the stop spell, Wang Lin pointed with his right index finger. Stop! No! Heaven Master Void God's body trembled and despair appeared in his eyes. True and false. Wang Lin closed his eyes and everything in this world became false. Then his eyes opened so everything became true. However, when he closed his eyes once more, his right hand chopped down. Slaughter! Wang Lin's palm was like a blade, giving off a red glow of slaughter. It directly landed on Heaven Master Void God's head and mercilessly chopped through. A heaven-shaking popping sound echoed followed by a miserable scream. Heaven Master Void God's body was split in half. His 2 halves turned into purple mist and retreated to the left and right. However, even though Wang Lin's eyes were closed, he could clearly feel that splitting this mist was like splitting apart cloth. The moment the mist separated, Heaven Master Void God's avatar's original body was released. It was a cloud of invisible energy. This invisible energy was very difficult to detect, and Wang Lin could only detect it using his true and false Tao. This invisible energy was the core of Heaven Master Void God's avatar. This avatar was, in fact, a breath exhaled by Heaven Master Void God. Heaven Master Void God was called Void God because his body was like void. It could be said that his body was not real and was only a mass of energy. At this moment, the cloud of invisible energy that only Wang Lin could see tried to escape without anyone noticing. Heaven Master Void God didn't have the highest cultivation level among the 5 masters, but he was the most difficult to kill, however. Today he had met Wang Lin, who had comprehended the true and false essence. Wang Lin didn't open his eyes at all. At the moment Heaven Master Void God's core attempted to escape and the green-robed young man turned to retreat in terror after seeing Heaven Master Void God torn apart. Wang Lin raised this right hand to his eyebrows. With this, endless golden light shined and a drop of golden blood came out from between Wang Lin's eyebrows. He grabbed it with his right hand. The moment he grabbed this drop of blood, a bow instantly appeared from Wang Lin's body. The moment the bow appeared, killing intent filled the stars. Wang Lin pointed the bow forward. The Li Kuang bow couldn't be used unless Wang Lin had the golden blood. In fact, back when his celestial bloodline was forced out, the bow had fused with that drop of blood. The arrow was also inside that drop of blood. However, this blood still belonged to Wang Lin. As long as he had the blood, he could summon the Li Guang bow and fire that heaven-shattering arrow. With this bow and his current cultivation level, Wang Lin wasn't afraid of the world or any cultivators. This bow was Wang Lin's most powerful attack. With his eyes closed, Wang Lin's left hand held the bow and his right hand held the bowstring. He pointed at the escaping Heaven Master Void God and pulled the bowstring. A buzz echoed as if space was going to collapse or was already collapsing. The space around Wang Lin began to collapse layer by layer with him as the center. Heaven Master Void God let out a silent scream and a feeling of death surrounded him. He ran like crazy and merged with the world. In an instant, he disappeared from near planet Suzaku. There was also the young man in green. As he quickly escaped in terror, he ripped open a rift and went inside. There were also the escaping tens of thousands of cultivators that were around planet Suzaku. They had all escaped earlier and hadn't witnessed what had happened around planet Suzaku, but at this moment, they felt the call of death from their souls. I'll take back the brilliant void with his arrow. Wang Lin closed his eyes. His voice sounded calm. He pulled back the bowstring and an illusory arrow with a round tip began to form. Soon it became a real arrow. The moment the arrow appeared, Wang Lin's right hand loosened. The moment he let go, a buzzing sound echoed. Space itself seemed to tremble and collapse as the string slammed into the arrow. All the force was transferred and the arrow shot out. Space collapsed once more as the arrow flew out, forming endless black vortexes. The arrow triggered an unimaginable amount of power. No one could stop this arrow. As the arrow flew out, a ripple spread out from space. The green-robed young man was forced out of his rift. As he looked back in terror, his face turned pale and his eyes were filled with despair. Unlike last time where he was only a projection, this time he was with his original body. Once he died, he would truly be dead. Without any time to think, the arrow closed in instantly. The green-robed young man let out a roar for help. His hands formed a seal and he coughed out large amount of blood regardless of his body's condition. He gathered all the essence he could now that he was facing the end of his life. He ripped open his Joss Flame Realm and took out all his Joss Flame souls. They fused with his blood and formed billions of layers of ice. In an instant he formed a block of ice as large as a planet. Just at this moment the arrow arrived. The moment the arrow touched the ice immediately collapsed. Inside the center, the green-robed young man's eyes were filled with despair. He had caused his own clan mark to collapse in exchange for more power to resist the arrow. However, in the end, the arrow penetrated the ice with a rumble that echoed across the entire brilliant void. The arrow went through the green-robed young man. His body trembled and he coughed out blood before exploding. His origin soul wanted to escape, but in the end it trembled and died. This was the first arcane void cultivator that died in this war. There were many outer realm cultivators inside the brilliant void. but all of them felt the threat of death. The arrow traveled in a straight line, but the ripples that it sent out affected the entire brilliant void. Any cultivator that was touched by a ripple would explode and die. In the eastern part of the brilliant void, there were hundreds of outer realm cultivators chasing a few dozen inner realm cultivators when they felt this. The dozens of inner realm cultivators were all pale and looked like dried-up oil lamps. Fight with them to the death. Even if I die, I'll die in my hometown. The escaping middle-aged man revealed a desperate grin. He suddenly turned around and decided to self-destruct. However, just at this moment, a ripple came from the stars and penetrated the dozens of them but didn't cause them any harm. However, they were gobsmacked when they saw the hundreds of outer realm cultivators chasing them all let out a miserable screams and die to the ripple. In the southern part of the brilliant void, there were 2 outer realm cultivators who had reached the heaven's blight. They were suppressing the bad feeling they had, and were chasing after a young man before them. This young man was covered in fresh blood. However, just at this moment the ripple echoed. The 2 grinning outer realm cultivators trembled and collapsed, leaving behind the stunned young man. In the west of the brilliant void, there was Cultivation planet. Most of the sects had been destroyed and were now occupied by outer realm cultivators. Some of them had gone crazy from killing and had actually gone to kill mortals. Screams echoed inside the cities. Some outer realm cultivators had captured the beautiful female cultivators of various sections. They were going to turn them into cultivation furnaces and sell them back in the outer realm. However, just at this moment the ripple swept past the Cultivation planet. After the ripple passed, all the outer realm cultivators on the planet trembled and collapsed into piles of flesh and blood. In the northern part of the brilliant void, there were 1,000 rays of light representing 1,000 outer realm cultivators going to help the other star systems. However, they collided with a ripple and not a single person survived. Similar things happen everywhere within the brilliant void. As the ripples spread, a shocking amount of outer realm cultivators died. At the border of the brilliant void and the cloud sea, Heaven Master Void God's avatar reformed his body. His expression was gloomy and his eyes were filled with fear as he looked ahead. Who can kill him when he has that arrow? Damn it, without that arrow, at most I'd be injured. But it's not impossible to kill him. It's just that. Why does he have to have that bow and arrow? Sovereign, you gifted him that bow back then. You made a big mistake. With that bow, who in the inner or outer realm can handle him? This old man is no longer participating in his war. If my avatar can survive, it will return to my original body. Heaven Master Void God's fear had reached a limit. At this moment he was escaping toward the cloud sea. He wanted to leave through the gap in the cloud sea. He had already made up his mind to never enter the inner realm again. However, just at this instant, his expression changed greatly and he turned around. The space behind him broke and the arrow shot out. It moved at an unimaginable speed that was impossible to dodge as it shot through his body. Heaven Master Void God's body collapsed, and his aura disappeared without a trace. The moment his avatar died, a miserable scream came from a star domain covered in endless fog in the ancient star system. The fog within the star domain rapidly shrank until it formed a body. This was Heaven Master Void God's original body. He coughed out a mouthful of blood and staggered back a few steps. He looked toward the inner realm with dread in his eyes. In the brilliant void realm, outside planet Suzaku, Wang Lin opened his eyes. The bow in his hand disappeared and the arrow returned from the void. It went back inside the drop of golden blood in his right hand. He pressed the drop of blood back into his forehead and charged up to the vortex formed by the collapse void gate. He still needed a bit more time to solidify his third step cultivation. Not far away, Zhou Jin was the only outer realm cultivator not killed by the ripples. His body was trembling and he didn't dare to move. He watched Wang Lin step into the vortex and absorb the power of the void gate like crazy. So powerful. He became so powerful. Zhou Jin's mind was blank and his face was ashen. Not only him, the thousands of inner realm cultivators were all startled. What they had just witnessed was simply unbelievable. Lord of the Sealed Realm. This is the Lord of the Sealed Realm. The hope of our inner realm. Master South Cloud's eyes were filled with excitement. As someone who had cultivated for so many years, he knew that something of this magnitude shouldn't happen, But whether it was the 10,000 void bone gate or the power of the arrow, either was enough to shock him. Situnan laughed as he looked at Wang Lin inside the vortex. Excitement filled his eyes. Glory to the Lord of the Sealed Realm. No one knew who spoke first, but soon everyone followed. The thousands of cultivators cried in excitement. Behind them, the statue of Wang Lin on planet Suzaku looked up at the sky as if he was looking at the heavens like looking at ants. However, only Wang Lin knew that his divine retribution, his third step divine retribution, was about to arrive. Wang Lin absorbed the power of the void gate inside the vortex. As he did so, his slaughter essence completely fused with his body. The moment the fusion was complete, Wang Lin's cultivation level increased from early-stage spirit void to mid-stage spirit void. When he reached the mid-stage of spirit void, Wang Lin pointed at the vortex. The power of the void gate rushed toward his hand. Thunder rumbled and lightning swarmed from all directions, and a thunder sword appeared in his hand. This sword was only 7 inches long, but it was an essence treasure he had refined using the power from the collapsed void gate. This was like the slaughter sword Xianxia had formed. This small sword was formed by Wang Lin's thunder essence, or it could be said that it was the thunder essence. Then Wang Lin raised his right hand again and large amounts of power from the vortex flowed out. The fire essence sword appeared. The third sword was the karma sword. This sword contained Wang Lin's enlightenment of karma. It floated before Wang Lin's body and emitted a soft glow. The fourth sword was the life and death sword. The world trembled as black and white gas intertwined to form this 7-inch sword. The fifth sword was the true and false sword, but the power from inside the vortex was limited. It had almost run out of energy after helping Wang Lin form 4 swords, so now it showed signs of dissipating. At the same time, muffled roars could be heard from the distance. It was sign of divine retribution. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He knew that after the vortex disappeared, the divine retribution he would face would be the strongest one in his life. However, Wang Lin wasn't afraid at all. His eyes were calm and he stepped forward with his arms stretched out. He pulled the dissipating vortex apart. This tear caused the vortex to tremble, and even more void gate power rushed out. Under the surge of void gate power, the true and false sword formed. The sixth sword was the slaughter sword. This wasn't the sword that Xianxia had given Wang Lin but one he formed with his own slaughter essence. After the slaughter sword formed, the vortex began to dissipate in an irreversible way. The power of the void gate was extremely mysterious. It could not only allow cultivators to fuse with their essence and allow their body to undergo a metamorphosis like in the foundation establishment stage, it could also form a weapon from their essence. Wang Lin didn't know where this weapon came from, much less what it was. However, he was aware that the mysterious void gate power was extremely rare. A cultivator could likely only encounter it once in their life. Once it disappeared, there would never be another chance. This aura could even repair treasures. This could be seen from the fact that it could form essence treasures. He raised his head. The moment the vortex was about to disappear, Wang Lin pointed at it. He used the stop spell with his mid-stage spirit void cultivation and let out a calm roar. Stop! Wang Lin had comprehended the stop spell after reaching the third step. It no longer only stopped the body. Everything in the world could be stopped. With one word, a thunderous rumble came from the vortex. These rumbles sounded like angry roars to the surrounding cultivators. Since ancient times, all cultivators felt awe toward the void gate. The previous lord of the sealed realm was the same. Only Wang Lin would dare to use the stop spell on the vortex from the void gate. If it was before the Dream Dao, Wang Lin might not have done this, but after the Dream Dao, he had the aura of a grand scholar. He had comprehended the truth of the world and could see the heavens and earth and all living beings as ants. This wasn't arrogance but equality. Whether it existed or doesn't exist in this world, it didn't matter. He didn't feel awe, all he had was the gaze that was as calm as water. With one word he stopped the world. The giant vortex rumbled. But although the stop spell was strong, it wasn't omnipotent. The vortex only paused for a moment before it showed signs of collapsing. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he stepped forward. His right hand reached toward the vortex and waved. He created a powerful suction force and pulled out a lot of void gate power that originally didn't belong to him. The rumbles from the vortex became even more intense. Its angry roar seemed to show dissatisfaction with Wang Lin's actions. However, Wang Lin didn't care. As he pulled out more void gate power, he took out the speck of light that was the remains of his destroyed god-slaying war chariot. This god-slaying war chariot was destroyed during Wang Lin's first battle against Taoist water. When it was destroyed, there was still one more seal left on it, but it was still enough to surprise and injure Taoist water. The power of this treasure was extraordinary. This was made by the Rain Celestial Realm's esteemed Xian Bao. It was named the God-slaying war chariot, and it was extremely powerful. Wang Lin had survived many dangers thanks to it. Wang Lin had taken the remains of the God-slaying war chariot out to see if this mysterious void gate power could repair it. If it could really be repaired, Wang Lin had too many other treasures he wanted to repair. Just as the speck of light was taken out, the endless void gate power rushed over and was absorbed by the speck of light. Soon, the speck of light gave off a bright glow. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed and revealed excitement that could not be hidden. He didn't expect his guess to be true, that this mysterious void gate power could really repair treasures. In just a few breaths, the speck of light absorbed a large amount of void gate power. The speck of light gradually became a cocoon and released a gentle light. When the cocoon formed, it absorbed even more void gate power. Cracking sounds echoed when almost all the void gate power was exhausted. Cracks appeared on the cocoon and a 7-colored butterfly broke out from inside. Waves of 7-colored powder fell from the butterfly's wings. It danced around Wang Lin, and the way it flapped its wings showed its endless joy and attachment. In the end, the butterfly landed on Wang Lin's shoulder and remained motionless. Wang Lin began to laugh. He looked at the butterfly and recalled his experience with the god-slaying war chariot. He didn't expect to ever see the butterfly again. This butterfly was the spirit of the god-slaying war chariot. No matter how difficult, I'll take the power void gate. Since the god-slaying war chariot can be restored, I will take out another treasure. If that could be restored, I'll have another powerful life-saving spell. Wang Lin's eyes were filled with excitement. He waved his right hand and something flew out from his storage space. It was the fragment of a shield. The fragment gave off a faint, green light so weak that it felt like it could dissipate at any moment. The moment the fragment appeared, the power of the void gate that Wang Lin had pulled out gathered around it. The faint, green glow from the fragment suddenly became bright as if it was full of life. This was the Azure Light Shield, a treasure Wang Lin had acquired in his earlier years. It displayed its strongest power back in the demon spirit land. Whether it was the All-Seer or the Ancient Devil, they were all terrified before it. With Wang Lin's cultivation level back then, it was already shocking. If it could be repaired now, and with the added void gate power in Wang Lin's cultivation, its power would be shocking. The strongest thing about this treasure was not its defense but the spell contained within. This spell was called Dream of Ancient Times. As the green fragment continued to absorb the power of the void gate, its edges rapidly moved, restoring its shape. However, there wasn't much power from the void gate left. Seeing the power of the void gate decrease and the vortex about to dissipate, Wang Lin raised his right hand. The 6 essence swords flew out toward the vortex and created a monstrous impact. These were treasures formed by Wang Lin's essence. Every attack from them was the full attack of a third-step cultivator. As the rumble echoed, the vortex was distorted. Wang Lin opened his mouth and inhaled. Using the fact that his soul was a soul devourer, he sucked out a lot more power from the void gate that didn't belong to him. As the power of the void gate was pulled out, the Azure Light Shield absorbed enough and recovered to its original shape. Feeling excited, Wang Lin waved his right hand and the Ancient God Gauntlet appeared. After it absorbed the remaining void gate power, it recovered as well. While laughing, Wang Lin raised his right hand and threw a punch at the vortex. The vortex collapsed as the rumble echoed, but an indescribably powerful will came out of the collapsed vortex. This will was extremely powerful, but no one other than Wang Lin could detect it. Wang Lin felt like this will was the first spirit born when the world was created. It was as if everything in the inner and outer realms were born from this will. If it was before, Wang Lin would have retreated in terror, but at this moment, the powerful aura of a grand scholar erupted from his body. He saw the heavens and earth as ants, so how could he lose to this will? Today I borrowed the power of your void gate. I'll definitely repay you in the future. Wang Lin's voice suddenly echoed. Inside his body, the heaven-defying bead suddenly moved. The will charged out of the collapsed vortex and collided with Wang Lin's aura. This caused Wang Lin's face to turn slightly pale, but he didn't take a single step back. He stood straight and stared at the vortex. The will from the vortex didn't have any offensive power, but it had the power to suppress. If one didn't submit to this pressure, then their body, mind, and Tao would collapse. However, this pressure couldn't suppress Wang Lin. Wang Lin's aura of a grand scholar viewed the heavens and earth as ants, viewed everything as equals. As a result, Wang Lin directly confronted that will. At this instant, the heaven-defying bead in Wang Lin's mind seemed to awaken and began to rotate. It greedily absorbed that will. That will touched Wang Lin slightly and immediately withdrew. When it withdrew, the heaven-defying bead also stopped rotating. As the will withdrew, a faint and ancient voice echoed in Wang Lin's ears. "Everything was created by me. We wait for your repayment." When the voice dissipated, even more power surged out of the vortex and entered the ancient god gauntlet. This caused the gauntlet to quickly recover. Wang Lin raised his right hand and reached into his storage space to take out a broken flag. Aside from the heaven-defying bead, this was the most meaningful treasure Wang Lin had ever received. This was the 1 billion soul flag. This flag was given to him by Du Tian in his earlier years, and he had given part of it to 13. Right now he only had this broken flag left. But when the power from the Void Gate rushed in, the 1 billion soul flag gave off a powerful aura. After the 1 billion soul flag was repaired, the power of the Void Gate quickly dissipated from the world. The vortex from the Void Gate dissipated. Wang Lin stood there with his white hair fluttering. His left eye contained fire, his right eye contained thunder, and between his eyebrows, aside from his ancient god stars, there were 3 vertical marks. Those 3 vertical marks were karma in the middle, life and death on the left, and true and false on the right. As for the slaughter essence, it was fused with his soul. The third step. He had really stepped into the mid-stage of spirit void, making him a third-step cultivator. He closed his eyes and silently observed his body. After a long time, he opened his eyes and saw that a strange mark had appeared on his right hand. He was not unfamiliar with this mark. It was the 6th gate he had broken open, the 10,000 Void Bone Gate. The 10,000 Void Bone Gate was like a tattoo in Wang Lin's right palm, and it slowly formed a deep imprint. Looking down, the thousands of cultivators slowly flew out from planet Suzaku. Master South Cloud, Situnan, and others flew in front to greet Wang Lin. Only Master South Cloud looked a bit worried. He looked into the distance at the muffled rumbles and a speculation formed in his heart. Just at this moment, the muffled rumbles from the distance became even more urgent and violent. Wang Lin raised his head and looked into the distance with battle intent in his eyes. He was going to face the divine retribution. He wanted to see how strong the divine retribution this time was. "Situ, we will talk later. Right now, divine retribution is coming. After I break this divine retribution, we will get drunk." It indeed is divine retribution. Master South Cloud's eyes narrowed. He stopped and waved his sleeves to stop everyone else from moving forward. "The Lord of the Sealed Realm is undergoing divine retribution. We will wait outside and protect him." When Master South Cloud's words echoed, the thousands of cultivators all stopped and then slowly retreated. Situnan gave Wang Lin an anxious look. "Divine retribution? When I broke the Void Gate, there was no divine retribution. Wang Lin, Situnan looked at Master South Cloud and also saw a hint of worry. "The Lord of the Sealed Realm has the will to defy the heavens and is called a heaven-defying cultivator. Heaven-defying cultivators have to face divine retribution. That is what has been passed down from ancient times. This old man has seen a few divine retributions. So the Lord of the Sealed Realm is also a heaven-defying cultivator." Master South Cloud looked into the distance and saw a mass of clouds rushing over. The clouds were endless, and they came closer and closer. Less than 10 breaths after everyone backed off, the thunderous rumbles echoed in everyone's ears. Some inner realm cultivators even bled from their orifices and retreated in fear. The clouds quickly surrounded Wang Lin until he was no longer visible to everyone. As the endless clouds shrouded Wang Lin, an indescribable power of the heavens seemed to form countless giant invisible hands that swept out in all directions. The thousands of inner realm cultivators, including Master South Cloud and Situnan, were pushed back by this force. 10,000 feet, 100,000 feet, 10,000 kilometers, 100,000 kilometers. Thunderous rumbles echoed. As the clouds rumbled, it seemed even planet Suzaku was pushed off its orbit and drifted off. From afar, this scene looked extremely shocking. The clouds spread until everything within 1 million kilometers around Wang Lin was covered. There was not one cultivator or cultivation planet within the area. Wang Lin was the only person inside. Looking at this unimaginable scene, all the cultivators became anxious, especially Situnan, who stared into the distance with a gloomy expression, wanting to help. However, he knew that aside from the person going through the divine retribution, it would be very difficult for others to get close. Wang Lin could only bear it himself. The Lord of the Sealed Realm is a heaven-defying cultivator. With this divine retribution, his cultivation will be fortified and he will stand above us all. Master South Cloud muttered as if he was speaking to himself and to everyone else as well. Everyone silently pondered. Even further away on the other side of the clouds, an old man wearing purple walked out. He wore a solemn expression as he looked at the churning clouds, and his eyes gave off a mysterious light. What a powerful arrow energy! He actually found that arrow. When I met him back then, he hadn't even reached the third step. I didn't expect him to have 6 essences. 6 essences, 6 essence. 1 essence is enough to become a third step cultivator. With 6 essences, this child's cultivation skipped over the nirvana void stages and reached the mid-stage of spirit void. With this cultivation and that arrow, this old man was Old Ghost John. He pondered a bit and looked at the clouds with bizarre and unexplainable gaze. 10,000 Void Bone Gate. Old Ghost John looked down at his right hand. In his palm a tattoo appeared. This tattoo was also a door. This gate was the same as the one in Wang Lin's palm. They were both the 10,000 Void Bone Gate. Could he be the third one? Old Ghost John frowned. In the ancient star system, there was a palace floating among the endless void. The palace was dark, and it floated in darkness. It seemed to merge with the darkness of the void itself. There were several candlesticks burning inside the palace. Popping sounds echoed as the flames flickered. The flames were dim, but some things were faintly visible. There was a well at the center of the palace, and there was a man in a black robe standing next to it. Wang Lin was familiar with this person. He was the sovereign. He lowered his head and looked at the well, making it impossible to see his expression. After a long time, he raised his dried-up right hand and gently pinched a flame. The candlestick extinguished and smoke drifted up. The smoke enveloped him and hit him inside the darkness. Why is he so hard to kill? Blue Dream stopped me the first time. The second time was a life and death trap, but in the end Master actually showed up. Master has gone crazy. He actually saved Wang Lin, even with his personality. A hoarse voice echoed in the darkness and gradually became distorted. It was as if the sovereign couldn't hide the panic in his voice. The Li Guang bow and arrow. It must have been Master who gave Wang Lin the blood to use it without rejection. Master is not dead. He is crazy right now, but once he recovers, he is bound to punish me. But at that time, he was seriously injured and went missing after being devoured by the Heaven's Tao. What can I do? What can I do besides submitting to 7 color? The sovereign's body under the black robe seemed to tremble. He raised his head and roared at the empty palace hall. The summoned river had been completely occupied by outer realm cultivators. In the southern region, there were many broken planets with pieces of rock floating around them. There was one that was about 100 feet wide. This rock was hollow, and an old man wearing white was sitting inside. This old man gave off the air of a celestial, and there was a drop of blood between his eyebrows. This drop of blood seemed to have fused with him completely, which looked shocking. He slowly opened his eyes and lifted his right hand. After calculating for a bit, his eyes revealed a strange light. Wang Lin has finally reached the third step. The plan that this old man has been brewing for tens of thousands of years is about to commence. This old man has waited a long time for this. Student, don't let your teacher down. The old man in white smiled. He was extremely calm, as if everything had gone exactly as he predicted. He was the all-seer, who had been missing for many years. In the brilliant void, Wang Lin was in the middle of the endless clouds, where only the person going through the divine retribution could be. His white robes were fluttering and his eyes were calm. He had his hands behind his back as he looked up. The clouds above him were rotating and there seemed to be countless silver snakes moving inside. A vortex that looked like a big mouth formed. I have a question. What qualification does heaven have to give me retribution? Today, I'm not only someone who will go through a retribution, I'm someone who will hand one out as well. Thunder retribution in my name Wang Lin begin. Wang Lin didn't know if anyone had ever faced divine retribution with a mighty and calm heart, like him, and delivered divine retribution onto the heavens. He didn't know if anyone would do this in the countless years after him. He only knew that he had to give it his all to suppress this divine retribution. He would turn himself into the heavens down not to punish life but to punish this divine retribution. This was a battle between two divine retributions. This was something that had never happened before. As Wang Lin spoke, the thunder mark in his right eye flashed and endless lightning surged out under the giant vortex. In an instant, several bolts of thunder flew out from his right eye and spread across his face and body. Eventually, thunder flowed into his white hair, creating popping sounds. From afar, Wang Lin seemed to be dressed in thunder. He was like the king of thunder. Thunderous rumbles echoed and the vortex above rotated even more violently. As it rotated, endless thunder gathered at the center. A green light shined at the center. Wang Lin's first divine retribution, thunder retribution, appeared. The green light penetrated the million kilometers of cloud. From outside, the clouds were dyed green. It was a spectacular scene but also scoking. However, in Wang Lin's eyes, the green light formed a large bolt of thunder in the depths of the vortex. It gave off a strange aura that didn't belong to this world. It came from an unknown place and charged out of the vortex with a deafening roar toward Wang Lin. It was like a vicious green dragon that wanted to devour Wang Lin. It wanted to devour Wang Lin and destroy him to prevent a heaven-defying third-step cultivator from existing. Wang Lin remained calm as he looked coldly at the vortex above him. His gaze locked onto the green thunder and his eyes lit up. Today I, Wang Lin, will deliver retribution upon the divine retribution. The first will be named my will thunder retribution. As Wang Lin spoke, thunder erupted from his body and spread like crazy. In an instant, a giant thunder mark appeared above Wang Lin. This thunder mark was completely different from the green thunder. It was red blood red. This blood red light gave off an endless red glow and turned into a thunder retribution that belonged to Wang Lin. The red thunder caused the world to change colors. The clouds were pushed back and the entire brilliant void trembled. Wang Lin raised his right hand and pointed at the descending, green heavenly thunder. The red thunder mark trembled and turned into a bolt of heavenly thunder that shot upwards. This scene was extremely shocking. If one looked from afar, they would clearly see a bolt of green and a bolt of red thunder moving at unimaginable speeds toward each other from above and below. This made it impossible to tell which one was the divine retribution. Some might even feel that both were divine retribution. It also made it difficult to tell if the heavens were punishing Wang Lin or if Wang Lin was punishing the heavens. In an instant, the two bolts of heavenly thunder collided with a thunderous roar, creating a violent impact. They were like two meteors that were devouring and canceling each other out. As the thunderous rumbles echoed, the green thunderbolt dissipated rapidly. After just a few breaths, it had shrunk a lot and couldn't move forward at all. Then it was devoured by Wang Lin's red thunder. However, just at this moment, the vortex suddenly started rotating in the opposite direction. Thunderous rumbles echoed once more and another bolt of green thunder appeared. It fused with the first bolt and pressed down on Wang Lin's red thunderbolt. It wasn't just one, the third, fourth, fifth, until the 9 bolts fell at once and fused with the first bolt. The endless thunder was like a flood that was going to destroy the world. Wang Lin's red thunder rapidly dissipated under the green thunder that had suddenly expanded. A shockwave filled with thunder spread in all directions and pushed back the clouds. This caused Situ Nan and company outside to feel terror. However, this wasn't able to cause old Ghost John to move at all. He calmly looked ahead as if he could see everything and slightly shook his head. He shouldn't be the third one. If he were, he wouldn't be so weak. Forget it, I have looked for the third one for countless years. How could it be so easy? Old Ghost John let out a sigh as he withdrew his gaze from the clouds and looked dispirited. He seemed to lose all interest and was about to leave. However, just as he was about to leave, he exclaimed and suddenly turned around. His disappointed eyes shined brightly. Deep within the fog, Wang Lin's white hair moved without wind. The red thunder disappeared and the incomparably large, green thunderbolt filled with destructive power descended. Wang Lin took a step and disappeared. When he reappeared, he was directly below the green thunderbolt. His right hand rose up and gently pressed against the endless green thunderbolt. I don't know where this thunder came from. I, Wang Lin, have comprehended the essence of thunder, and am the lord of all thunder. You either obey me or break. Time seemed to stop at this moment, forming an eternal picture. In this picture, Wang Lin's white hair fluttered as his raised hand touched the green heavenly thunder that was formed from 9 bolts and stopped it from descending. Before the green thunderbolt, his body was very small, but when his palm touched it, it was as if he had grabbed the soul of the thunderbolt. His expression remained calm and he closed his eyes. He felt the green thunderbolt's unyielding will and roar. He felt the struggle of the thunderbolt along with its thoughts and fears. I understand. Then you can break, Wang Lin soft said. Then he opened his eyes and waved at the green thunderbolt. With this wave, the green thunderbolt trembled and silently collapsed before Wang Lin. It turned into countless specks of green light and spread out like countless green fireflies. It then slowly dissipated and scattered. As Wang Lin stood within the dissipating green thunderbolt, his figure seemed a bit blurry. He looked up at the vortex above and pointed with his right hand. With my will, create a thunder retribution to punish the heavens. An instant later, a bolt of red thunder retribution appeared out of thin air to his left and shot toward the vortex. Then a second and third. Countless bolts of thunder appeared with Wang Lin as the center and bombarded the vortex. In a flash, the area Wang Lin was in was like a minefield. The bolts of thunder went from dozens in number to hundreds, until there were tens of thousands that shot out. 10,000 red thunderbolts to punish the divine retribution. Tens of thousands of red thunderbolts shot up and closed in on the vortex above. In an instant, these bolts of thunder slammed into the vortex. A heaven-shattering rumble echoed as Wang Lin's divine retribution bombarded the vortex, causing it to become thin as if it was going to dissipate. In the end, the vortex in the sky disintegrated and disappeared. However, just at this moment, a giant rift appeared where the vortex dissipated. This rift was hundreds of thousands of feet long and released thunderous rumbles. A giant, four-cornered palace that looked like an altar slowly came out. As it appeared, the thunderous rumbles became even more clear. In an instant, half of the altar came out, revealing its 4 corners. Wang Lin saw a vague figure sitting in the center, and there were 4 swords stabbed into the altar around the figure. With my intent, begin fire retribution and burn the heavens and earth. The fire tattoo Wang Lin's left eye flashed and then a menacing fire spread out around him, forming powerful flames. As Wang Lin pointed above with his left hand, the flames around him suddenly spread out. 1,000 feet, 10,000 feet, 1,000 kilometers, 10,000 kilometers. The fire spread with just a thought from Wang Lin. At this moment, the sea of fire that was tens of thousands of kilometers wide flew into the sky with the point of Wang Lin's finger. In a flash, even the surrounding clouds seemed to get lit up by the fire. The rift above was completely engulfed in fire. It was different from the rumbling of thunder. The popping sounds of the fire burning fused together. The heat wave spread in all directions. There was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes. He waved his sleeves and took a step forward. He appeared inside the sea of fire near the rift next to one of the 4 corners of the altar. Then he raised his right hand and directly pressed down on the vague figure sitting on the altar. As he pressed down, his hand clenched to form a fist as if he was grabbing something. Karma print. His open palm was karmic cause and his closed palm was karmic effect. The karma print shot out and the altar trembled. The 2 corners that came out of the rift released a thunderous bang. Large amounts of cracks appeared on those 2 corners and then they suddenly collapsed. Countless fragments scattered and were burnt to ashes by the fire. If only 2 corners collapsed, it wouldn't be surprising. However, under the assault of the karma print, not only did 2 corners collapse, but even the 4 swords around the vague figure trembled and let out miserable buzzes. For smoke-like aura were extracted from the four swords by Wang Lin. They were invisible to the eye but could be seen with divine sense. They flew toward Wang Lin's hand and were caught. As the four arrows dissipated, the four swords that Wang Lin dreaded back then lost all luster. They were like ordinary swords without any spirit. However, this was not over yet. Nothing that had essence could escape the karma print, as this spell was extremely domineering. Ordinary people were not qualified to dodge it. Even third-step cultivators like the green-robed young man were terrified before it. The altar trembled violently and an aura seemed to be extracted. It began to tremble even more violently, and spider web-like cracks spread across the entire altar. All of this happened in an instant, and as Wang Lin's right hand closed, there was a flash of coldness in his eyes. Shatter! With one word, a monstrous rumble came from the altar. Even the half that didn't have time to come out of the rift collapsed. The countless fragments turned into a storm, but the moment the storm appeared, it was devoured by the surrounding fire. A roar came from inside the collapsed altar. The vague figure that was sitting there looked up and rushed out. It dashed through the sea of fire and charged at Wang Lin. This figure was still blurry, and even after it charged out, it was impossible to see its appearance. The figure raised its hand and seemed to murmur a spell. Its right hand released a yellow light and slapped toward Wang Lin. Life! Wang Lin let out a cold snort. He didn't dodge or hide. He waved his sleeve and white gas surrounded his left hand as he directly confronted that yellow palm. The two palms collided and a monstrous rumble echoed. The figure was forced back several steps. Ordinary life force didn't have the capability to do much damage, but Wang Lin had comprehended life and death. The life force injected now was used to help create death. You dare to attack me with this kind of strength? Wang Lin moved and appeared before the retreating figure. He raised his right hand and black gas surrounded it. As he closed in on the figure, he pressed his right hand on its chest. Death! As he pressed down, the black gas in his right hand rushed into the figure and triggered the life force that was sent in earlier. The life and death aura inside it completed a cycle and formed the life and death seal. When the life and death seal was complete, a thunderous rumble appeared inside the vague figure, and it started to tremble and cough out golden breaths. The figure was thrown back and even the blur around it dissipated a bit, revealing its terror and disbelief. The life and death seal had messed up the life and death aura inside him, causing his body to collapse. The messenger of the heavens that made Wang Lin suffer before was now so weak, he couldn't even withstand one blow. Divine retribution, what qualifications do you have to inflict divine retribution upon me? Wang Lin's words were calm, but they spread out from the fog into the ears of Master South Cloud, Situ Nan and the thousands of cultivators outside. Just this one line was enough to make the inner realm cultivators' blood boil. This line was extremely arrogant, but no one questioned it. Wang Lin had endured more than 1,000 years to say this. From when he first faced divine retribution in the demon spirit land, he had endured until today. Now he had the qualifications to point at the sky and ask why what right it had to punish him. Ask the heavens what qualifications it had to take away Li Muan. Ask the heavens who had given it the qualifications to punish other beings. Ask the heavens who had given it the qualifications for it to become heaven. Thunderous rumbles rang out and the million-kilometer clouds seemed to be enraged. Muffled roars loud enough to shake one's mind came from the rift. As the sound became even more intense, the clouds began to rotate. As they rotated, the roar intensified and a powerful pressure spread out. As they rotated, countless vague figures appeared inside the clouds. These figures looked like souls and let out mournful cries. In the blink of an eye, those ghostly figures filled the area around Wang Lin. Soon, these figures became clear and turned into faces familiar to Wang Lin. These faces included his parents, his fourth uncle Wang Zhou, Zhang Hu, Lu Mei, and Li Muan. There was also Teng Li, Teng Yuan, and people he considered enemies, friends, or relatives. They charged at Wang Lin from all directions. As they closed in, both roars and gentle calls filled the clouds and rushed into Wang Lin's mind. Wang Lin silently pondered as he looked at the figures that closing in on him. He saw his white-haired parents holding each other and trembling as they closed in. He saw the tears in their eyes and them raising their dried-up hands as if they wanted to touch his face. He saw Li Muan. Li Muan had a tearful gaze. but she had a warm smile on her face. She wiped away her tears and quietly walked toward Wang Lin. He saw Lu Mei, who was holding a baby surrounded by black gas. The cries of the baby were sharp and could penetrate one's mind. He saw a lot, he saw everything. This scene was extremely real, and it was formed by divine retribution, so it was very difficult to tell if it was real or not. It gave one the illusion that it could change between real and fake in an instant. When you believe everything is false and you destroy it all, you may find it was all real. You would have just destroyed your loved one's last remaining souls in this world. As Wang Lin silently pondered, even more figures closed in on him. These figures surrounded him and more continued to approach. Wang Lin let out a sigh, looked profoundly at the surrounding figures and closed his eyes. He had comprehended the true and false essence, so this had no effect on him. When he closed his eyes, everything became false, and when he opened his eyes, everything became real. With a sigh, Wang Lin closed his eyes once more and waved his right hand. Just like how he had made the void gate turn to dust, he waved the figures away whether they were real or not. Dust to dust, earth to earth, they will go back to where they came from. Since the heavens are ruthless enough to use such a method against me, then I will do the same. Heavens, open your eyes and see how many people other than me roar at the heavens. Wang Lin opened his eyes. Then he pointed at the heavens and roared. As he roared, his true and false Tao suddenly appeared. Inside the rumbling clouds, as Wang Lin roared, many illusory figures appeared. These figures were formed by Wang Lin's true and false Tao. If you say they're real, they are real, but if you say they're fake. Among these figures was Zhou Yi, who held the female corpse and roared mournfully at the heavens. Among these figures was Bai Fan, who pointed at the heavens and laughed like a madman. Among these figures was Qing Shui, who had recalled his memories after awakening and roared at the heavens. Among these figures was Tuasan, who arrogantly cursed at the heavens. Among these figures were many more. Among these figures was also the countless people from the 7 million worlds within the Scattered Thunder clan. The countless cultivators that had died and Master Scattered Spirit, who let out a deranged roar of madness when he saw what he believed to be heaven. Countless figures appeared within Wang Lin's true and false Tao. Their roars formed a special kind of divine retribution. The heaven's divine retribution had used an illusion against Wang Lin, so Wang Lin did the same. He used his true and false Tao to form this divine retribution as a response. As the roars echoed toward the heavens, an invisible force rushed into the rift. However, there was no reaction from the rift, and the roar from within wasn't interrupted. Not enough. Wang Lin closed his eyes and his divine sense spread out in all directions. In a flash, his divine sense spread across the entire brilliant void. His divine sense entered each cultivation planet and looked into the memory of the soul of every planet. Since ancient times, anyone who lived in the brilliant void realm, whether it was mortals or cultivators, all let out roars of resentment as they looked up at the heavens. Perhaps no one saw them and perhaps they were long dead, but the planets they lived on remembered it all. At this moment, Wang Lin's divine sense felt it, and it took form with his true and false Tao. It transformed into a divine retribution that was targeted at heaven itself. The rift that represented divine retribution trembled for the first time, and the roar coming from inside suddenly stopped. At the same time, on the other side of the clouds, old Ghost John's eyes shined like never before. His eyes were filled with unabashed greed. There is a 30% chance he is the third one. Old Ghost John licked his lips. Wang Lin was using his true and false Tao to create an illusion divine retribution. The countless figures within the fog let out roars of struggle, and they were all targeted at the rift above Wang Lin. A thunderous rumble echoed across the entire brilliant void. The rift that was hit by Wang Lin's divine retribution trembled violently. Wang Lin's white hair fluttered as he stared coldly at the rift and calmly walked toward it. His pace wasn't fast, but every step he took would cause a thunderous rumble, and caused the rumble coming from the rift to become even more intense. The trembling from the rift and Wang Lin's calmness created a sharp contrast. Wang Lin was not afraid of divine retribution. He had the heart of a great scholar and a mighty aura. Everything in the world was equal. Not even divine retribution was an exception. Everything has an origin. Today, I want to see why divine retribution exists, how it came into existence, and where it came from. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as he walked closer and closer to the rift. When he was less than 100,000 feet from the rift, bright light came out of it. As the bright light shined, something slowly floated out from the rift. It was a very ordinary-looking horsetail whisk that was only 7 inches long. It had a purple wooden handle and white hair as the brush. There were 3,000 hairs symbolizing the 3,000 grand das. This object slowly flew out of the rift and gently waved at Wang Lin. The 3,000 hairs moved without any wind and scattered. An invisible ripple spread out from the horsetail whisk. As the ripple echoed, Wang Lin's footsteps paused slightly and his eyes shined brightly. Then his paused step landed without hesitation, and he moved like a meteor toward the horsetail whisk that had flown out of the rift. The ripple spread out and penetrated through the clouds. Just as Wang Lin closed in, one of the 3,000 hairs separated from the whisk and drifted like smoke. The white hair from the whisk silently turned into a spell. Attraction spell. At the same time, the second white hair separated from the whisk and turned into the second spell. Fireball spell. The third white hair quickly followed and turned into a slaughter aura. It became the slaughter aura from a slaughter sword. The fourth, fifth, sixth. In a flash, hundreds of white hairs flew off, turning into the finger of death, the underworld finger, the devil finger, and other spells Wang Lin had seen in the first step. Some of these spells were ones he had mastered and some were ones he had seen others use. After the hundreds of white hairs, the rest of the 3,000 hairs followed, turning into various spells. There were Qing Shui spells, Situ spells, and even by fans call the wind, summon the rain, mountain crumble, and land collapse. All of this happened in an instant. The 3,000 hairs turned into 3,000 different spells that Wang Lin had seen in his life. There were also Qing Lin, Taoist water, and Master Lu Fu's spells. There were even spells from the 5 masters of the ancient star system, the first and second generation vermilion birds, and many other included. 3,000 hairs, 3,000 grand das, 3,000 spells. A majority of the spells in Wang Lin's memory appeared before him. These 3,000 spells fused together perfectly. As the whisk waved, the spells surrounded the space around Wang Lin and closed in on him. Perhaps a few or even 100 would be no problem, and even all 3,000 were nothing to Wang Lin. However, these 3,000 spells were formed by the hairs on this whisk, which gave off a familiar aura. This aura was celestial energy. As a result, its power was enough to shock the world. This celestial energy was not the celestial spiritual energy from the celestial realms of the inner realm but real celestial energy, like the drop of golden blood. If he hadn't met the madman and obtained the immortal celestial body, he would not be able to recognize the celestial energy used to create these 3,000 spells. At this moment he instantly felt it, which caused his pupils to shrink. He looked at the 3,000 spells closing in on him and killing intent appeared in his eyes. I had already suspected that divine retribution came from the ancient celestial realm. Now that I am feeling this pure celestial energy, it is clear that the ancient celestial realm has great connection to the immortal astral continent. Bursts of soft, golden light came from the 3,000 spells as they closed in on Wang Lin and descended. A thunderous rumble echoed, causing the heavens to shake. Wang Lin's figure was covered by the soft, golden light, making it impossible to see his figure anymore. At the same time, another object flew out from the rift, a 9-floor pagoda. The pagoda was golden and gave off endless pressure. It expanded as soon as it flew out. In the blink of an eye, it was hundreds of thousands of feet tall. It gave off a golden light and flew toward Wang Lin. The 3,000 whisk hairs were divine retribution. The pagoda suppression was another divine retribution. The third step divine retribution that was targeted at Wang Lin was extremely powerful. If Wang Lin's cultivation was only at the early stage of nirvana void, he would have without a doubt died here. Even if he were at the peak of nirvana void, he would have died to this divine retribution. Even with his mid-stage spirit void cultivation, if he had reached it normally with one essence, he would still have no chance of survival against this divine retribution. The 9-floor golden pagoda immediately smashed toward where the 3,000 spells were. After a violent rumble, everything became quiet. The only that remained within the clouds was the 9-floor golden pagoda that seemed to have existed since ancient times. Master South Cloud and company outside the clouds trembled due to the silence. As Master South Cloud stared at the clouds, he became anxious. Situnan silently pondered and felt like something bad was going to happen. Without saying a word, he wanted to rush into the clouds. However, just as he moved, Master South Cloud waved his hand to stop Situnan. "Master South Cloud, you aren't going to stop me." Situnan suddenly turned, and his eyes were filled with madness. He stared at Master South Cloud as he spoke, and his words were filled with monstrous killing intent. He knew he was not Master South Cloud's match, but at this moment, he had a feeling Wang Lin was in danger. Given Situnan's personality, even if his teacher, Qing Lin, was here, he would attack without hesitation. Master South Cloud didn't care about what Situnan had said. Instead, he silently pondered a bit and then spoke with a serious tone. "The Lord of the Sealed Realm is going through divine retribution. We shouldn't interfere. If you force your way there, not only would you not help, it would also distract him." Situnan's gaze fell on the clouds and he clenched his fists. After pondering for a bit, his hoarse voice slowly echoed, "I'll wait for half an incense of time. If after that, if it remains this quiet, I must go there." Master South Cloud didn't speak. He looked at the clouds and became even more anxious. On the other side, old Ghost John became even more excited. His eyes shined as he licked his lips and muttered to himself, 39 Whisk Celestial Suppression Pagoda. There should be another one called the Fate Sealing Ring. When he set up the divine retribution in the cave, he put those 3 treasures inside. Old Ghost John's words became unfathomable, and his gaze toward the clouds became even more strange. Time slowly passed. Half an incense stick of time felt like several years for Situnan. The thousands of inner realm cultivators became nervous and had a bad feeling in their hearts. Could the Lord of the Sealed Realm survive his divine retribution? Impossible. The Lord of the Sealed Realm can't fail. It has been silent for a long time. What the hell happened in there? Panic began to appear in the hearts of those thousands of cultivators, making them even more anxious. Situnan found it increasingly hard to control himself. Just as half an incense of time was about to pass and Situnan was going to charge into the clouds, a heaven-shaking rumble echoed. Deep within the clouds, the pagoda suddenly trembled. The rumble came from within the pagoda. There was chaos inside the pagoda. Wang Lin's body was tangled by the 3,000 hairs that were the 3,000 spells. They seemed to return to their original form and sealed Wang Lin. Inside the pagoda, there were bursts of golden light that was extremely domineering. The light wanted to refine Wang Lin. It wanted to use celestial energy to melt Wang Lin. However, the divine retribution didn't know that between Wang Lin's eyebrows existed the purest celestial bloodline. The so-called divine retribution only has these spells. If that's the case, this divine retribution is too weak. Wang Lin was wrapped in 3,000 hairs. He shook his head and jerked. The ancient god stars between his eyebrows started rotating rapidly, and as ancient god power surged through his body grew rapidly. 100 feet, 300 feet, 1,000 feet, until he was thousands of feet tall like a giant. The hairs around him were pulled straight and some even snapped. Once Wang Lin turned into his ancient god form, his ancient god power spread out and all the hairs collapsed. Can't even withstand one blow. Wang Lin shook his head once more and then he stepped upwards. His right hand formed a fist and he threw a punch at the top of the pagoda. The ancient one head appeared behind Wang Lin. It wasn't blurry but almost corporeal. As it floated behind Wang Lin, it let out a heaven-shattering roar. This roar shook the surrounding area and it was as if Wang Lin was filled with endless might. Wang Lin reached the top of the pagoda and threw a punch. This punch caused the ancient one head behind him to roar even more violently and space to distort. This roar fused with Wang Lin's punch, creating a powerful punch filled with ancient energy. The rumble became even more violent. In an instant, Wang Lin's punch touched the top of the pagoda. Thunderous rumbles echoed and the pagoda trembled. Wang Lin retreated a step and there was a flash of coldness in his eyes. Then he let out a roar and threw the second punch. The popping sounds it created were heaven-shattering. As the popping sounds echoed, a few fine cracks appeared. A mere pagoda dares to seal me? Wang Lin let out a roar, formed a fist, and threw the third punch. The punch landed and the cracks split even more. Soon, the cracks spread across the entire pagoda and the entire pagoda collapsed. Countless fragments scattered in all directions. If one looked inside the clouds, they would see the pagoda collapsing and its fragments scattering like a storm. One would also see the golden light shine from within the collapsed pagoda. Wang Lin calmly walked out of the golden light with his hands behind his back. Although divine retribution was strong, Wang Lin didn't care. In his view, divine retribution couldn't punish him. Just as Wang Lin walked out, another muffled roar came from the rift above. Golden light shined and a third treasure flew out from the rift. This treasure was a golden ring. The moment it appeared, the golden light from the rift became even stronger, and a pressure far more powerful than before appeared. This pressure spread out past the clouds. Outside, Situ Nan and company felt this pressure, and their hearts trembled. They felt like they were facing the endless might of the heavens. Master South Cloud's expression changed, and he subconsciously retreated over 1,000 feet. If he was like this, there was no need to talk about everyone else. The thousands of cultivators here, including Situ Nan, quickly retreated. Some cultivators were too late on their retreat and were hit by the pressure. They coughed out large amounts of blood and their faces became pale. Their minds were hit by a powerful blow. What kind of treasure is this? Master South Cloud's eyes were filled with disbelief. With his cultivation level, he could tell that the pressure was not being given off by a cultivator but a treasure. The only person outside the clouds that wasn't suppressed by the pressure from the treasure was old Ghost John on the other side. His hair moved without any wind and his eyes revealed a strange light as he stared into the clouds. For the first time, his gaze moved off Wang Lin and onto the golden ring. Fate Sealing Ring. This is the thing he set up as the third treasure to become divine retribution in his memories. This treasure was even a bit famous on the immortal astral continent. Unfortunately, it became divine retribution, and unfortunately my body. Old Ghost John shook his head and sighed, but his eyes suddenly lit up. If Wang Lin can obtain this treasure, the chance of him being the third one will increase greatly. However, it is somewhat difficult to obtain it. Wang Lin also felt the pressure from the golden ring. His eyes lit up and he became interested for the first time. Just as Wang Lin looked over, the golden ring stopped and its pressure increased drastically. This caused the clouds to rumble violently, and the cultivators outside all rapidly retreated once more in shock. At the same time, the golden ring flew toward Wang Lin as it released this pressure. As it flew forward, the golden ring swelled up in a strange manner and instantly became thousands of feet wide. It moved at an unimaginable speed and wrapped around Wang Lin. After it was around Wang Lin, it rapidly shrank. Wang Lin's eyes revealed a strange light. He didn't dodge or hide but waited for it to shrink. In a flash, the ring shrank from thousands of feet to only several feet, forming a small halo around Wang Lin's forehead. It tightened into his flesh like a circular seal. This circular seal clung to Wang Lin's skin. It tightened around his forehead, and then an invisible ripple spread through his body. Then a similar ring appeared, sealing his origin soul. This was not the end. After sealing his origin soul, the ripple continued to penetrate through. It had no form to begin with, so it entered Wang Lin's soul and sealed it. This was the fate-sealing ring. Wang Lin closed his eyes and his expression remained calm, as if the ring on his forehead didn't exist at all. However, within his closed eyes, there were flashes of deduction. He had taken fancy to this treasure, so he was using his mind to figure out its structure and find its weakness. The quickest way to do this was to experience it himself. He didn't dodge the divine retribution. He was allowing the divine retribution treasure to hit him, so he could figure out a way to take it. Since ancient times, only Wang Lin could do something so calmly. He was already a bold person, and after experiencing countless life and death situations, he had seen far too much. Now that his eyes were closed, everything in the world became false and his mind processed at a terrifying speed. He combined his ancient god body, his cultivator body, his 5 essences, his more than 2,000 years of cultivation, and his wisdom as a grand scholar to create a terrifying computational force. In his mind, his body was gone and the only thing that remained was the golden ring, which was made up of billions of runes. The runes rapidly rotated, and because they rotated so fast, they looked solid. Every rune contained a unique aura, but when combined, they were extremely harmonious. They would seal a person's flesh and origin soul, and then their soul, which was tantamount to sealing their life. This treasure's effect was very similar to the sealing power of the sealing extermination clan, but there were some differences. All of this happened in an instant, in just a flash he saw through a lot. This treasure is a half-finished treasure. It was fused into the divine retribution by someone, and they are using the divine retribution to complete this treasure. The treasure is close to completion. Maybe in another. The ancient god had a giant scar on his chest. It was as if had someone cut open his chest in ancient times. An 8-star ancient god, even if he wasn't of the royal bloodline, was already extremely powerful. To leave such a terrifying mark just showed how powerful these people were. Roar! The ancient god was less than 1,000 feet from Wang Lin. This was a long distance, but compared to an ancient god's body, which was tens of thousands of feet tall, it was within punching distance. A rumble echoed as the 8-star ancient god punched Wang Lin. An extremely powerful storm spread and stirred up the clouds. A giant shadow appeared before the ancient god. This shadow was also an ancient god, but he was wearing a set of armor. An endless slaughter aura came from the shadow, and on the forehead of this shadow there were actually 9 stars. Wang Lin was originally an ancient god, and a royal ancient god at that, so he understood that the shadow that appeared behind the ancient god represented someone they respected, or it was an inherited title. The shadow was a symbol of the ancient god's identity and his origin. The 8-star ancient god was obviously loyal to the 9-star ancient god wearing armor. Although Wang Lin's eyes were closed, he could clearly feel everything. As the 8-star ancient god's punch flew forward, the world trembled. When the punch was less than 100 feet from Wang Lin, he still didn't open his eyes. Instead, he took a step forward and raised the palm of his right hand to collide with the ancient god's punch. With his palm blocking, Wang Lin's body didn't budge and he pushed the ancient god to the side. The ancient god's hollow eyes were filled with disbelief when his full punch was gently pushed to the side by Wang Lin. After pushing aside the ancient god's punch, Wang Lin's palm gently patted the head of this ancient god. There was a thunderous bang and the ancient god coughed out a mouthful of blood before retreating 100,000 feet. At the same time, the other 4 ancient gods closed in from different directions with 3 different punches. The full power punches of 3 8-star ancient gods was terrifying. At this moment, the 7 stars between Wang Lin's eyebrows started rotating rapidly. His 7-star royal ancient god power surged. Time seemed to slow down at this moment. Wang Lin still had his eyes closed, and he calmly took half a step forward. His right hand gently patted one ancient god's fists, knocking him to the side. His palm then hit the ancient god's chest. The ancient god trembled and blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth before he was knocked back 100,000 feet. Wang Lin turned around and his arms extended out, grabbing the punches of the other 2 ancient gods. Although he had only grabbed a small portion of their fists, it was like he had grabbed onto their souls. He then suddenly pushed them back. A shocking rumble echoed. The 2 ancient gods coughed out blood and were thrown far away. All of this happened in an instant. Wang Lin had forced 4 ancient gods to retreat. Half of the golden light from the golden ring had dissipated and was still rapidly disappearing. Once all the light was gone, Wang Lin would have full control of this ring. Although the ancient gods were pushed back to 100,000 feet away, RGW 4 ancient devils were charging at Wang Lin. They had cruel and bloodthirsty expression, and many ancient devil spells rushed at Wang Lin. These spells were incomprehensible. They turned into ancient spells or mournful ghosts that surrounded the 4 ancient devils before rushing at Wang Lin. A giant black war axe appeared. It was an ancient devil treasure. One of the devils grabbed the axe and chopped down at Wang Lin, causing his expression to become cold. The ancient gods were from the same clan, so he had held back a bit. Ancient devils were the same race but not the same clan. As the axe chopped down, Wang Lin's body flashed and his right palm pressed against the blade of the axe. The ancient devil trembled and the axe collapsed into endless devilish energy. The devilish energy shot toward Wang Lin's closed right eye. In a flash, it was all absorbed by his right eye. At the same time as he absorbed the devilish energy, Wang Lin stepped forward and arrived before an ancient devil. His right hand pressed against its chest and then he clenched before pulling back. A miserable scream echoed and the 8-star ancient devil exploded. Dense, black gas was pulled out by Wang Lin, and he pressed it into his right eye. This didn't cause the other 3 ancient devils to retreat, They seemed to have lost their sanity. They were filled with cruelty and bloodthirst as they desperately rushed at Wang Lin. One of the ancient devils was already behind Wang Lin and wanted to devour him. At the same time, the other two ancient devils arrived on the right and left of Wang Lin. Ancient devil spells appeared and shot toward him. Even the four ancient demons closed in. Wang Lin's expression remained calm and his eyes were still closed. The golden ring on his forehead was almost completely dim, with only a small sliver still struggling to shine. As the ancient devil tried to devour him, Wang Lin didn't dodge. Instead, he slammed his back into the ancient devil. There was a thunderous rumble and the ancient devil let out a miserable scream. Then a storm of devilish energy appeared and its body exploded. Wang Lin didn't pause. He walked out of the storm and raised his left hand at another ancient devil. The karma print appeared once more. While he absorbed the ancient devil energy, Wang Lin calmly moved toward the last ancient devil. The countless ancient devil spells shot toward Wang Lin, but they all went through him. The ancient devil was shocked from disbelief as Wang Lin's palm pressed on its chest. Thunderous rumbles echoed and the ancient devil turned into gas. Before it could dissipate, it was absorbed by Wang Lin's palm. All of this didn't cause the four ancient demons to pause for even a moment. They surrounded him and closed in with a unified scream. Wang Lin didn't move his body, but his right hand pressed on his closed right eye. The last hint of golden light from the golden ring dissipated. Now the golden ring on his head didn't have a single speck of light inside. Wang Lin's eyes opened. Outside the million kilometers of clouds, old Ghost John became excited. He stared at Wang Lin inside the fog and his eyes became even brighter. In such a short period of time, he actually managed to obtain that treasure. The chance of him being the third one is not 30% but 50%. I have searched the inner cave for countless years, and Seven Color has looked in the outer cave for countless years. We never found the third one and didn't know where the third one went. If I can find it first. Old Ghost John's eyes shined brightly and he clenched his fist. As for Wang Lin, when he opened his eyes, the drop of blood that was his celestial immortal body appeared and moved through the ring once. After it cycled once, the golden ring shined even more brightly. However, this time the golden light belonged to Wang Lin. You're all looking for death. Wang Lin's white hair moved without wind, and in golden ring lit up his snow-white hair. The moment he spoke, a monstrous killing intent spread from his body. Under this slaughter aura, Wang Lin raised his right hand and pointed above. A giant golden palm print appeared. War Spirit print. This was the first time Wang Lin had used it since he awakened from his dream Tao, and it was several times more powerful than before. Space itself trembled when the palm print appeared. The palm print that seemed to cover the entire area descended with endless pressure. The four ancient demons trembled and let out miserable screams as the palm print penetrated their bodies. They all collapsed. Strands of demonic energy gathered in Wang Lin's left eye and were absorbed. There are also four of you. As members of my ancient god clan, you're supposed to die on the battlefield, but your sanity was removed and you became puppets. I'm your king and I feel your sadness. Wang Lin's eyes were filled with sorrow. As the ancient gods rushed at him, he pointed at them. The war spirit print that had destroyed four ancient demons turned and shot toward the four ancient gods. Wang Lin closed his eyes as if he wasn't willing to look. The moment he closed his eyes, a thunderous rumble echoed. The four ancient gods all disappeared. Before they died, they seemed to reveal a face of relief. Divine retribution should be over. Wang Lin raised his head and opened his eyes. He looked at the rift and made his way toward it step by step. When he stepped into the rift and saw what was inside, his pupils shrank. He saw the world he saw in the past inside. It was an endless world with a dim sky above countless giant statues. These statues were ancient gods, ancient devils, and ancient demons. A sense of true celestial energy filled this area. Although it was not strong, it was obviously different from the celestial energy outside the rift. This was the aura of the immortal astral continent. Below Wang Lin, a young man stood on an ancient demon statue. The young man had white hair, white robes, and a cold gaze. His hands were behind his back as he looked up at the sky. Wang Lin's pupils shrank the moment he saw the young man. Whether it was appearance, expression, aura, and everything else, he was the same as him. There was no way to tell them apart. Wang Lin's eyes returned to normal and he slowly said, "Who are you?" "I'm you." The white-haired young man revealed an elusive smile as he looked at Wang Lin. "No need to pretend to be mysterious." Wang Lin let out a snort and moved like a meteor. He ignored the white-haired young man and moved through this vast and strange continent. However, after he moved less than 1,000 feet, Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he stopped. He looked ahead and then waved his hand forward. With this wave, ripples appeared before Wang Lin, revealing a water-like barrier. This barrier contained powerful celestial energy. It dissipated Wang Lin's attack and created a rebound force. Invisible ripples rushed into Wang Lin's body from all directions. "You can't get in." The strange, white-haired young man was inside the water barrier. He shook his head. "You want to know what divine retribution is? You want to know the origin of divine retribution? Beat me and you will know everything. Don't be surprised that I know what you're thinking, because I'm you." The white-haired young man stepped forward and his white hair fluttered. He gave off a very graceful temperament. The white-haired young man smiled and softly said, "Throughout the ages, you're not the first heaven-defying cultivator to reach the third step, but none of them survived this divine retribution. I'm looking forward to seeing if you can do it." While they spoke, the white-haired young man stepped out from the water barrier. He raised his right hand and pointed at Wang Lin. "Do you dare or not?" There was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes. He charged forward without wasting time or speaking nonsense. He raised his right palm and closed in on the white-haired young man. Self-divine retribution. A bit interesting. The white-haired young man remained calm and also stepped forward Wang Lin, raising his right palm as well. This scene was extremely strange, and if an outsider saw this, they would be shocked. Two people that looked exactly the same, whether it was their appearance or clothes, were using the same spells. They moved like two meteors and moved closer together in this vast continent. In an instant, the two closed in on each other. There was a flash of killing intent in Wang Lin's eyes as his right palm collided with the young man in white's right palm. A thunderous rumble echoed across the continent, making it seem as if the entire world was going to shatter. This deafening roar echoed and lingered for a long time. As the sound echoed, Wang Lin and the white-haired young man did the same thing. The moment their palms touched, their fingers curled at the same time. Another rumble echoed and a powerful storm erupted between them. The storm caused their same white hair and white robes to flutter. At this moment, even their gazes were the same, gloomy with a hint of killing intent. It was as if they were both trying to form a fist and extract the other's essence. All of this happened in an instant. They both formed a fist and pulled backward. The white-haired young man immediately coughed out blood and his body was knocked back, with blood flying out of his orifices. The fire tattoo appeared in his left eye, thunder appeared in his right, and even his karma, life and death, and true and false essences flew out like gas from his orifices. They turned into a mass of chaos and were held in Wang Lin's hand. Looking at Wang Lin, he also coughed out blood and his expression and essences ended up the same as the white-haired young man's. The white-haired young man also held Wang Lin's essences. Both of them retreated 1,000 feet. There was no difference at all. While they retreated, they even had the same thought. They both used the essences they had extracted from the other using the karma print to make up for the loss in essences. There is no need to verify, your thoughts are my thoughts. Your spells are my spells. I am you. You want to test me with your spells. This may work against others, but it is useless against me. The white-haired young man gave Wang Lin a strange smile and wiped away the blood from the corner of his mouth. If you still don't believe me, I'll help you believe it. As he spoke, he charged toward Wang Lin. His left hand rose into the air and white gas surrounded it. His right hand rose up and black gas like ink surrounded it. The white-haired young man closed in on Wang Lin and pressed his hands down. Life and death seal. An extremely powerful life and death aura erupted from the white-haired young man's body. His left hand contained life as well as the heavens and earth themselves. His right hand contained death as if it controlled the fate of everything. As he closed in, his left hand closed in on Wang Lin and the white gas flew toward Wang Lin. This white gas was life force, which normally couldn't do any harm. However, Wang Lin knew that it was part of the life and death seal. Once it entered his body, death would soon arrive to complete the seal. Wang Lin's expression was gloomy. He let out a cold snort and raised his left hand. It was filled with life force that turned into a mist. His left hand penetrated the mist and collided with the white-haired young man's left hand. Both of their bodies trembled with a bang and both had life force enter their bodies, disrupting the flow within them. Both coughed out blood but didn't retreat it. Instead, they each raised their right hands and collided once more. A thunderous rumble echoed before both of them were knocked back and coughed out blood. However, as they retreated, they both roared at the same time. Life and death seal! Life and death seal! As thunderous rumbles echoed, Wang Lin landed on the ground and was forced back step by step. Every step he took caused the earth to tremble, and he retreated more than 100 steps before he stopped with a pale face. His body was a complete mess as the life and death seal erupted. If not for the fact that he had comprehended life and death, he would have been seriously injured. The white-haired young man also retreated, and his body hit the water barrier. He went through it and arrived above an ancient demon statue. Countless cracks immediately spread across the entire statue, starting from the spot where the white-haired young man landed. The statue collapsed and dissipated the force. Blood flowed out from the white-haired young man's mouth, but he still had that strange smile. What about it? Karma print, life and death seal, and all the spells you know. I know. How can you kill me? What are you going to kill me with? The white-haired young man's smile became bigger and bigger until he began to laugh. The two were separated by the water barrier. Wang Lin's expression was gloomy as he stared at the white-haired young man inside the barrier. He closed his eyes. The moment he closed his eyes, the expression of the white-haired young man changed and he also immediately closed his eyes. Both of them closed their eyes and the true and false Tao appeared. When the eyes were closed, everything was false. With a thought, true and false would change in the blink of an eye. They had closed their eyes at the same time. It was as if everything in this world had become an illusion, as if it didn't exist. This wasn't because the world was actually an illusion, but because they both had seen through its essence. In an instant, Wang Lin opened his eyes, and at the same time, the white-haired young man's eyes opened as well. There was a flash of coldness in both their eyes. When the eyes were open, everything would be true again. At the moment of changing from false to true, one could see through everything. The instant after they opened their eyes, they both closed their eyes again. The moment they closed their eyes, Wang Lin waved his right hand. With the true and false Tao, everything can be false as long as my heart wills it. Dust to dust, earth to earth, everything disappears. The white-haired young man also waved his right hand and saw the same thing. Both used the true and false Tao to dissipate everything. If only one person had used this, the spell would be extremely powerful, but now that both of them had done the same, they both trembled. Both coughed out a large amount of blood and were knocked back. However, after only retreating 3 steps, Wang Lin stopped and reversed the force in his body. He charged at the white-haired young man. The white-haired young man's movement was the same as Wang Lin's, and he also rushed over. The two got closer and closer and arrived at the center of the area outside the barrier. They both raised their right hands, both pointed at each other, and both shouted the same 2 words. Stop spell! Stop spell! After Wang Lin spoke and as his finger and the white-haired young man's finger pointed at each other, both of them trembled. The stop spell not only stopped the body, the origin soul and everything else would be stopped as well, including the flow of time. At this moment, both Wang Lin and the white-haired young man were completely frozen in place. Under the stop spell's effect, both of them stopped moving and fell from the sky. While they fell, Wang Lin was deducing in his mind. It should be like this. Everything Wang Lin had done from the moment their karma prints collided had an ulterior motive, but he had no time to think. If he had tried to analyze it, the enemy would likely have noticed it. Therefore, after testing several times, he decided to use the stop spell to freeze each other's minds, to seal his own mind so the enemy couldn't read it. Using this moment, he quickly deduced in his mind and figured out a solution. Wang Lin wasn't sure the white-haired young man would be able to obtain his thoughts if he thought for too long. As a result, he only thought for a moment before he made his mind blank and devoid of any thoughts. As both of them were about to land on the ground, the stop spells on their bodies were released. The moment they were free, they did the same thing. They didn't retreat, but a flash of coldness appeared in their eyes and they began a frenzy of attacks. Thunderous rumble echoed. In a short period of time, they used more than 10 identical spells. These included Bai Fan's celestial spells, Xianxia's spells, and Wang Lin's original spells. These various spells shook the heavens and earth, and the resulting rumbles echoed into the distance. This dim world was under constant bombardment. Even the fire essences and thunder essences were used by both at full force. However, in the end, both sides suffered heavy losses. They both coughed out blood and looked extremely gloomy. They also looked bleak and weakened. There was a thunderous bang and Wang Lin quickly retreated. He was breathless. In this short period of time, he felt how difficult it was to fight himself. He was experiencing the feeling others must have felt when fighting him. He had an ancient god body, and the white-haired young man was the same. He was at the mid-stage of spirit void, and the white-haired young man was the same. Wang Lin even took out treasures, but what shocked him was that the white-haired young man took out the same treasures. After that, Wang Lin no longer took out any more treasures. He vaguely understood that everything the white-haired young man had came from him. It's useless. I'm you. You can't kill me. The white-haired young man retreated and stopped to wipe the blood from the corner of his mouth. He began to laugh fiercely. Wang Lin didn't speak, but the coldness and killing intent in his eyes became even stronger. He charged forward once more like a ray of light. The white-haired young man's eyes revealed mockery as he charged at Wang Lin. The two closed in with a bang. They used various spells as their palms collided in exchange for the same injuries. However, after they knocked each other back, Wang Lin let out a roar and charged out once more. This cycle continued once, twice, 3 times, until after more than 10 times, there was no thought going through their minds besides slaughter. Wang Lin's eyes were completely red, and the white-haired young man's eyes were also red. Kill, 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 kill. Wang Lin roared as his hands formed a seal and endless thunder essence shot out. The white-haired young man roared out the same words. The same thunder appeared and shot toward Wang Lin. In an instant, the two collided for the 19th time. Monstrous amounts of thunder collided, causing a thunderous rumble. Their bodies trembled and their right eyes almost collapsed. While retreating, Wang Lin let out a roar at the sky and closed his eyes. The true and false Tao filled his body. With his eyes closed, everything in the world became false. The white-haired young man also let out a roar as he closed his eyes and entered the realm between true and false. However, just as he closed his eyes, Wang Lin suddenly opened his eyes. There was no hint of madness in his eyes. It was as if all the madness from before was fake. The white-haired young man trembled and his expression changed greatly for the first time. For the first time, his movement was not the same as Wang Lin's. He rapidly retreated and tried to open his eyes. However, Wang Lin had waited for this for too long, so how could he let this person escape? Wang Lin charged forward and his palm landed on the white-haired young man's chest. Wang Lin's fingers clenched and he pulled back. Karma print. His essences were extracted and the white-haired young man let out a miserable scream before coughing out blood. He was just barely able to open his eyes. However, just as he was opening them, Wang Lin's left hand containing life landed between the white-haired young man's eyebrows. The moment it landed, Wang Lin's right hand absorbed the essences that were extracted before landing on the spot between the white-haired young man's eyebrows again. This palm contained death. Life and death seal. Impossible. The white-haired young man was pale and his eyes were filled with disbelief. He coughed out a large amount of blood and his body almost collapsed as he retreated. All of this happened in a short period of time. The moment the karma print and life and death seal seriously injured the white-haired young man, Wang Lin closed his eyes. He stepped forward and opened his eyes, revealing a terrifyingly calm gaze. His gaze fell into the white-haired young man's eyes. This caused the white-haired young man's mind to tremble. He actually felt fear and he hesitated. He didn't know if he should close his eyes, because if he closed his eyes and Wang Lin disappeared from his senses, it would be a disaster. However, if he didn't close his eyes and Wang Lin used the true and false Tao, he would be seriously injured by the true and false Tao. During this hesitation, Wang Lin's opened eyes closed again. At this moment, everything in this world was false and he waved his right hand. The white-haired young man let out a miserable scream and quickly retreated. Rumbles came from his body and he constantly coughed out blood. His white robe was dyed red as he shot toward the water barrier. His body became blurry under the true and false Tao. It looked as if he could dissipate at any time. However, he forced himself to hold on and let out a heart-wrenching scream. Impossible, everything is impossible. I can copy everything you have. Your memories and your thoughts can't be hidden from me. There is nothing I don't know, nothing I don't know. You aren't able to fool me, you can't fool me. I'm you unless you can fool yourself first. I understand. Tao of deception. Damn it, this is Lu Jinbiao's Tao of deception. The white-haired young man understood, but he moved even faster to the water-like barrier. He knew that as long as he could return there, he would not have to be afraid of Wang Lin. As long as Wang Lin hadn't killed him, Wang Lin couldn't go through that water-like barrier. It was indeed as what the white-haired young man had said. Everything Wang Lin had done was done using the Tao of deception. First, Wang Lin continued to attack. Then he used the stop spell to buy time to deduce the situation. This deduction wasn't the key, but it allowed him to use the dream Tao to place himself in a dreamlike state. Thanks to this, he was able to deceive himself after the stop spell wore off. Wang Lin was under his own deception during those extremely tragic impacts. It was as if his mind had split into two. One was the self that had been deceived and continued to battle the white-haired young man, while the other calmly looked for the chance to kill. This chance came when the white-haired young man closed his eyes because he thought Wang Lin was going to use the true and false Tao. This was all deduced when Wang Lin was under the effect of the stop spell, and he had implemented it without hesitation to get this result. If it wasn't like this, it would have been very difficult to kill the self-divine retribution that was no different than him. Even so, Wang Lin had no way of killing this white-haired young man in a short period of time. He had experienced deeply how difficult it was, and the feeling of fighting himself was uncomfortable. At this moment, the white-haired young man figured out the reason, and Wang Lin's pupils shrank when he saw the white-haired young man retreating toward the water barrier. Once he entered the water barrier and understood Wang Lin's method, it would make him even more difficult to deal with. The white-haired young man could only be fooled once. He would not be fooled a second time. Staring at the rapidly retreating white-haired young man, there was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes. He wouldn't allow this person to escape. He had to kill this person. Wang Lin didn't use another spell to stop the white-haired young man, as even the stop spell would have no effect. The white-haired young man was about to enter the water barrier when Wang Lin clenched his teeth and revealed a decisive gaze. He raised his right hand and hit his right leg without hesitation. This hit caused his leg to tremble and become a bloody mess. The bones in this right leg gave off a sound as if they were about to shatter. The white-haired young man let out a miserable scream and his right leg became a bloody mess like Wang Lin's. It was as if Wang Lin's palm had hit his right leg. How could you understand so quickly, you? The white-haired young man's eyes were filled with terror. He coughed out blood and he was already seriously injured. At this moment his right leg shattered, causing him to slow down. The moment he slowed down, Wang Lin charged forward like a bolt of heavenly thunder. Wang Lin arrived before the white-haired young man and slammed into his body. There was a thunderous bang and the white-haired young man's body shattered completely. The water barrier that had been blocking Wang Lin became distorted and dissipated. Wang Lin didn't rush forward but closed his eyes. His cultivation surged and his ancient god power gathered in his right leg. He used his powerful mid-stage spirit void cultivation and ancient god power to rapidly recover. A moment later, Wang Lin suddenly opened his eyes and stepped into the dissipating water barrier. However, just as he was half a step into the water barrier, he suddenly stopped. He saw it. Ancient celestial realm. This was the ancient celestial realm that existed within the inner and outer realms. This place was much older than the 4 celestial realms. It had existed since the beginning of time. There was only one name for this place. The ancient celestial realm. The Lord of the Sealed Realm came from here. The celestial imperial concubines came from here. Everything related to the ancient era started here. Without the water barrier, the vast earth became clear. The dim sky had countless storms sweeping across day after day, year after year. It was as if these storms had been constantly moving across the sky since the beginning of time. There were 9 suns hidden behind the storm. Only their outlines could be seen. What caused Wang Lin to stop was the 9 suns hiding in the storm. There are also 9 suns here. Wang Lin's pupils shrank. When he got a look at the immortal astral continent, he saw the 9 suns hanging high in the sky. When he saw the 9 suns again here, he began to speculate in his heart. This place could be part of the immortal astral continent I saw before. Even if it's not, it must have a deep connection to the immortal astral continent. Wang Lin silently looked up at the sky above. The more his cultivation level increased, the more he learned about the mysteries of this world. He was gradually ripping the veil open, and was about to find the ultimate secret of the inner and outer realms. This secret might be very cruel, might be the end of everything, or it might just be another beginning. More than 2,000 years of cultivation and countless life and death struggles allowed Wang Lin to step into the ancient celestial realm, the holy land to many cultivators. The earth was completely silent and there were countless statues on the ground. These statues seemed to be living beings that were petrified, but they kept the various positions they held before being turned to stone. Some were standing, some had fallen to their knees, some were letting out a roar, and some had a fierce expression. These statues seemed to have been in this land for countless years. After pondering for a long time, Wang Lin stood in the sky and raised his head. He faced the dazzling light and looked at the 9 suns in the sky. Then he stepped forward and turned into a ray of light, and an earth-shattering howl followed. As the howl echoed, Wang Lin charged at the first sun. In an instant, Wang Lin arrived next to the first sun hidden in the fog. The wind roared as it blew on his hair and clothes as if it was trying to blow him away. However, his body remained motionless like a mountain. He allowed the wind blow on him, and there wasn't any effect. His face was covered by his dancing hair, but his eyes, which could be seen through the hair, shined brightly. Wang Lin looked very small before the first sun. He was like a speck of dust. However, this speck of dust gave off a terrifying aura. With this aura, how could anyone dare to say he was a speck of dust? With this aura, who would dare to compete with him? Even this first sun was not qualified. It was far from being qualified. Wang Lin looked at the sun that was covered by the churning fog. He waved his right hand and a thunderous rumble echoed. The churning fog rumbled and was pushed to the side. This wave from Wang Lin was like the heavens' might. The fog scattered like waves, revealing the first sun clearly before Wang Lin. There was a flash of coldness in his eyes and he waved his right hand again. The light from the sun dimmed and seemed to tremble a few times before it began to collapse before Wang Lin. Thunderous rumbles echoed and filled this vast world. The large sun before him shrank rapidly. Although it was still huge, it was like heaven and earth compared to before. What kind of sun is this? This is something formed by a spell. This contains the power of divine retribution. This is the root cause of divine retribution. Wang Lin's eyes shined and he waved his right hand several times. Every time he waved, the sun would shrink. A moment later, with one last wave, the sun released a thunderous rumble and completely collapsed before Wang Lin. As it collapsed, a distorted thunderbolt appeared before Wang Lin. The thunderbolt had 9 colors and seemed to be sealed inside the sun. Due to its existence, the first divine retribution was mostly thunder. Looking at the sealed 9-colored thunderbolt inside the sun, Wang Lin faintly saw the destructive thunderbolt that descended from the sky the first time he faced divine retribution. I have long suspected nothing in this world would appear for no reason. Even divine retribution would not appear by itself. Either some strange power or a powerful existence made it. As Wang Lin muttered, he reached out toward the sealed 9-colored thunderbolt. Thunderous rumbles echoed as it flew toward Wang Lin, and he caught it in his hand. The thunderbolt in his hand continued to twist as if it would never submit to Wang Lin, unless he becomes stronger than the mysterious existence that created it. Holding the thunderbolt, Wang Lin hesitated. I can see how divine retribution was created. I also have a guess. It's just, do I want to confirm that guess? After a long time, Wang Lin revealed a decisive gaze. His powerful divine sense spread out and entered the thunderbolt in this hand. He wanted to see who had created the divine retribution. Just as his divine sense entered the thunderbolt, a thunderous rumble echoed in his mind. His vision became blurry, as if time had back millions of years. He eventually saw a world. This world was filled with endless 7-colored light. The seven-colored light shrouded the world and made it look like a dream. This world was very large, it was boundless. Within the seven-colored light stood was a middle-aged man wearing a seven-colored robe. He looked aloof and his gaze was intense. A powerful pressure also spread out from his body. It was as if the world was below his feet and everything had to submit. It was as if the world would collapse before him with one thought. The pride he showed contained endless coldness. This person's lips were not thick, making him look very serious and mean. He didn't look righteous. The moment Wang Lin saw the seven-colored man, his mind rumbled. This person looked almost exactly the same as the statue in his storage space. It was the same person. Wang Lin remembered that when he saved Xianxia in the seven-colored realm, he also met a seven-colored person. However, compared to this person, that person was simply no match. It was like comparing the bright moon to the dim starlight. Although there were many similarities between them, if anyone saw both of them, they wouldn't think they were the same person. My cave will become its own world and contain the creation of heaven and earth. Everything in this world can be changed with just a though for me. Although it's not a match for Grand Sovereign Forest Dao's Forest Dao world, it is close. Unfortunately, it has no Heaven's Dao, so time can't pass. This means it can't give birth to life and use it to create Joss flames. However, all of this will change today because I managed to steal a Heaven's Dao. With a Heaven's Dao from now on, my cave can give birth to sentient beings and time will begin to flow. Cultivators will begin to appear. If there are cultivators, there must be divine retribution. The first divine retribution will be thunder. The seven-colored man muttered to himself before waving his hand at the sky. The sky rumbled and thunder appeared from the void and gathered in his hand. His right hand formed a seal, and just a moment later, the endless thunder gathered to form a bolt of divine retribution thunder. From now on, you will be the divine retribution thunder for this old man. Punish any being that cultivates with a heaven-defying will. The image dissipated and Wang Lin's divine sense returned to his body. His body trembled as he looked at the struggling thunderbolt in his hand with a complicated expression. Wang Lin murmured, I should have guessed long ago. Cave. Old Ghost John once said that the inner realm was the inner cave. It should have been very clear, but I didn't want to believe it. Like a steam scatter spirit from the 7 million worlds. He found out the secret but nearly went mad. Cave. So it turns out that my world, the inner and outer realms, is only a cave of a powerful cultivator on the immortal astral continent. So this is the truth. It is simply ridiculous. It turns out that all the sentient beings in the inner and outer realms were born because of this heaven-defying cultivator. Heaven-defying cultivator. The reason divine retribution punishes heaven-defying cultivators is because all heaven-defying cultivators would eventually choose to figure out what heaven really was. As a result, the divine retribution punishes them. This is much more brilliant than the 7 million worlds. I should have guessed it long time ago. I did guess it. I just didn't want to believe it. Wang Lin laughed as he pointed at the sky. This laughter became louder and louder. What an interesting life, what an interesting heaven, what an interesting creation. But even so, what of it? If I, Wang Lin, could enter the ancient celestial realm and break open the divine retribution to figure out how it was created, then one day I will be able to step out of the cave. I will be able to enter the immortal astral continent and see how powerful the great cultivators there are. What qualifications do they have to raise sentient beings in captivity? What qualifications do they have to become the masters of other beings? No wonder the first-generation vermilion bird said he could only take a limited number of people to his hometown. That's because aside from him, everyone else is not from the immortal astral continent. They are all just cultivators born in this cave. No wonder he said that someone in his hometown could revive Li Muwen, but he can't. No wonder. If a steam scatter spirit can take his people out from the 7 million worlds, then I, Wang Lin, can do the same. I want to see how powerful the people of the immortal astral continent can be. When I step out of the cave and enter the immortal astral continent, I want to see if I can set off a bloodbath. See if I, a mere cave-born cultivator, can step on top of those powerful cultivators in the immortal astral continent. Wang Lin laughed like crazy. He was not surprised about everything that had happened today, as he had speculations about this for a while. However, he didn't want to and was unwilling to believe it. He had even deceived himself to not think about it. However, today he had seen through everything. So what if he knew the truth? He was still Wang Lin. He was still a heaven-defying cultivator. He was still going to revive Li Muwen, and he was still going to face the world alone. Even if this was the truth, so what? As long as he had an indomitable heart and will in his body, he would continue onward. As he laughed, he stepped toward the second sun with his enlightenment of the truth. This sun contained the fire divine retribution. He threw a punch as he closed in. Thunderous rumbles echoed and the second sun collapsed. The fire divine retribution formed by the seven-colored man was revealed. Without pausing, Wang Lin stepped toward the third sun. A thunderous rumble echoed and a pressure spread out from within the sun. This pressure was like the heavens' might and could suppress all life. After breaking 3 suns in a row, Wang Lin rushed forward laughing like crazy. He raised his right hand and created a giant palm that slammed toward the fourth sun. The fourth sun contained 4 swords and gave off a terrifying sword energy. However, Wang Lin didn't care about this sword energy at all. The fifth sun contained countless illusory figures. These figures fused together to form a blur. This was the root of the illusion retribution. The sixth sun contained the auras of 3 treasures. These treasures were the ones that had been used against Wang Lin earlier. Now that Wang Lin had destroyed 2 of them, their auras had fused together. The seventh sun contained the soul force of the 3 ancient clans. There were countless souls of the 3 ancient clans sealed inside. It was the final method of manipulating the messengers of the heavens. Approaching the 8th sun, Wang Lin felt the aura of the self-retribution. This aura was rapidly changing, making it difficult to distinguish. After breaking the 8 suns in a row, a thunderous rumble echoed across the ancient celestial realm. The muffled rumble caused the earth to tremble, and the statues on the ground trembled as well. However, Wang Lin didn't care about any of this. His eyes fell on the 9th sun. He had never seen the divine retribution that was within the 9th sun before. He vaguely felt some very familiar auras inside the 9th sun. These auras belonged to him, Li Muwen, his parents, and the countless people he had met. Standing beside the 9th sun, Wang Lin calmed down and closed his eyes. He stood there for a very long time, and it was unknown how much time passed before he opened them. There was enlightenment in his eyes. This 9th sun, the 9th divine retribution, the origin of divine retribution. This contains the fate of all sentient beings in the inner and outer realms. This 9th divine retribution was the master plan. Anyone who was born in this cave would be recorded here. Looking at the 9th sun, there was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes. He wanted to destroy this divine retribution, and with his current cultivation level, he had a chance. However, to his understanding, the world would be plunged into chaos if he did this. After all, this world wasn't natural. It was created by the 7-colored man. While pondering, Wang Lin raised his right hand and pressed down on the 9th sun. His divine sense spread through his right hand and rushed into the 9th sun like a storm. Wang Lin's divine sense penetrated into the depth of the 9th sun. The inside of the sun was complete chaos, and as his divine sense spread out, he saw many things. He saw the lives of countless mortals and cultivators. He saw the faces of many people he didn't know. They all wore ancient clothes, and they had been dead for a very long time. This 9th sun contained the fate of all living beings that had appeared since this world was created. It was like reincarnation, it was like law. It changed everything that had to do with luck and opportunity and reduced it all down to fate. The 9th sun contained the so-called fate. As Wang Lin's divine sense spread out, and after an unknown amount of time he found his own fate. This aura was extremely powerful, and was very noticeable in this boundless chaos. Looking at his own fate, Wang Lin silently pondered. After a long time he made a decision. His divine sense spread out and surrounded his own fate. He devoured it and fused it with his divine sense. The moment this fate was fused with him, Wang Lin's divine sense changed greatly. His body trembled violently. As he trembled, his body seemed to become complete, as if from now on, he could determine his own destiny. There was no force in this world that could change his fate. This divine retribution couldn't. Not even that 7-colored man could. It was as if he had become complete, as if he had taken back his fate from heaven and broken free. Throughout the ages, mortals pursued the luxury of deciding their own fate, but since ancient times, almost none were able to. Fate was fickle and the power of a mortal was limited. They could only struggle under fate and let out those unwilling roars. It was like an ant that was being held in a person's hand. It could only let the person do what they wished, and it was unable to escape the palm. Even in the end, when it died, it would die in the palm. Even its body would be placed where the palm desired and be laid to rest. But even this rest was controlled by fate. People in the mortal world believed that if the king of hell wanted you to die, then no one could stay alive past dawn. The mortals had created the underworld and the king of hell because they were afraid of death. This showed people's fear and struggle against fate, but in the end, they were unable to escape. Even if someone thought they did, they were merely deceiving themselves. Only today, only Wang Lin had taken his fate back and gained control of his own destiny. After taking back his fate, he didn't withdraw his divine sense. His divine sense continued to search the ninth sun, looking for his friends, relatives, and loved ones. He was going to take their fates back. Even though a lot of them had died, Wang Lin wouldn't allow them to be restricted by fate, even in death. As he continued to search, he found his father and mother. What made him tear up was that even though his parents were dead, their fates were still entangled together. The love between his parents was calm and warm. Even in death, they still relied on each other. His divine sense gently wrapped around his parents' fates. He found 13 Big Head Zhou Qing Shuang Qing Lin. He found Master South Cloud, Master Hongshan, Wang Zhua, the old vermilion bird divine emperor Duntan. He found even more people. He found his own child, Wang Ping and Zhou Ru. He took their fates so that they would no longer be controlled by the heavens, allowing them to escape heavens like he did. He also found Red Butterfly, Mu Bingmei Shizi Feng. He found all those faces he could not forget in his life. There was also Li Qianmei. However, as he continued to search, he couldn't find Qing Shui, Situnan, and he even tried to find his missing teacher, the All-Seer. However, in the end, it was as if their fates had disappeared. Wang Lin also couldn't find another very important person. This person was his lover, and alongside his parents, she was someone who was as important as his life. This woman was called Li Muan. No matter how hard Wang Lin searched, he couldn't find Li Muan's fate's aura. It was as if it had disappeared out of thin air. However, this was different from Qing Shui, Situnan, and the All-Seer. Their fates seemed to have never existed within the ninth sun. There was a sign of Li Muan's fate existing, but someone seemed to have taken it one step ahead of him. Wang Lin continued to search inside the ninth sun. In the end, although he had found a lot of people he was familiar with, he was unable to find Qing Shui, Situnan, and the most important woman to him. When his divine sense returned from the ninth sun, he opened his eyes. The flash of confusion in his eyes made it look like he was stunned. Why don't Situnan and Qing Shui's fates exist here? Do they not belong to this cave? The confusion in Wang Lin's eyes became even stronger. He remembered back in the seven-colored realm in the brilliant void, where he saw Qing Shui and the seven-colored Taoist. He saw all of Qing Shui's life and how vivid the strange gaze from the seven-colored Taoist was. That gaze could vaguely explain why Qing Shui's fate is not in the ninth sun. As for Situ, I know a lot about Situ. His talent is amazing, and every time I see him, his cultivation level has increased greatly. Could this be the reason why his fate isn't in the ninth sun? Wang Lin silently pondered as he looked at the earth below. He vaguely grasped something, but those thoughts were covered by a layer of fog that he couldn't see through. Also, there is the All-Seer. He has always been elusive, and I still can't figure out what he is thinking. Perhaps only he knows what he is thinking. Even with my mid-stage spirit void cultivation, I still dread him. He has far too many secrets, and that makes him terrifying. Wang Lin looked at the ninth sun before him, and there was a flash of coldness in his eyes. Wan Er's fate is different from that of Situ and others. There are traces of it here, indicating it should exist, but I can't find it. Who is it that took Wan Er's fate? The coldness in Wang Lin's eyes became even stronger, until it was monstrous. In the end, he looked up at the sky and the coldness in his eyes turned into killing intent. Wan Er is only an ordinary woman, so her fate shouldn't have been noticed, but now it is taken. No matter who took it, I, Wang Lin, swear here in the ancient celestial realm that I will retrieve it. If someone dares to change her fate, even if it's the immortal astral continent, I will get my revenge and wash the immortal astral continent in blood like the Tang family. Wang Lin's bottom line was Wan Er. Finding out that Wan Er's fate was taken felt like his heart had been dug out from his chest. Under this pain, Wang Lin would go crazy. The more one person understood, the more painful they would be. This moment, Wang Lin was like this. Perhaps if he had a choice, he would choose not to know everything, to become immortal and live out his life. However, since he knew he didn't have a path of retreat, Wan Er's fate had been taken, so he had to recover it. Allowing her to escape fate like him was the first step to awakening her. Wang Lin understood it after he saw the fates inside the ninth sun. What he was going to do was revive Li Muan and allow her to awaken. The monstrous killing intent inside his eyes faded, and he gradually hid it. His expression was gloomy, and he didn't even look at the ninth sun as he stepped toward the earth. The statues of the three ancient clans filled the ground. Desolate wind would blow by and kick up the countless grains of dust on the earth. The sand and dust would cover the world. At a glance, there was no life on this earth, only deep gullies and pits between the statues on the ground. These gullies were left behind by a great war a long time ago, and these pits were the same. They were like scars that were left on this earth. The roar of the wind could only take away the dust on the surface of the scars but not take away the aura left by those various spells. Wang Lin leaned on top of an ancient god statue. His white hair fluttered in the wind and his clothes flapped loudly. Wang Lin's eyes gradually calmed down, and after a long time, he looked at the statue below him. This ancient god had already died, but a strange power still existed inside. It was this power that allowed the statue to awaken at any moment and become a puppet that had lost its sentience, become the messenger of the heavens. The three ancient clans have become guards for this cave. Pathetic, pitiful, hateful. Wang Lin shook his head and his right foot stomped the statue. The moment he jumped into the air, a thunderous rumble came from the statue. Countless cracks spread from where Wang Lin stomped, and cracks immediately covered the statue. A thunderous rumble echoed as the statue collapsed into countless pieces that scattered all over the ground. Dust to dust, earth to earth. Since you are long dead, don't try to hold on. Dying on the battleground is the best destination for people like us. Wang Lin waved his sleeves and stepped forward. Everywhere he passed, whether the statue was ancient god, ancient devil, or ancient demon, they all collapsed. If I don't destroy you all today, you will wake up in the future and disturb the world as puppets. Wang Lin let out a sigh and waved his right hand. An ancient devil statue collapsed and the fragments scattered. As the statues of the three ancient clans collapsed, the auras of the ancient gods, ancient devils, and ancient demons appeared like smoke. They formed vague shadows across this earth. These shadows were their appearances when they were still alive. They even showed their injuries. There was a moment of confusion in their eyes, but soon they understood everything. They revealed bitter smiles before bowing to Wang Lin and turning into smoke. The smoke rushed toward Wang Lin and fused with him. As Wang Lin walked forward, all the statues collapsed. The endless rumbles and the countless shadows clasping their hands at him were shocking. Yet at the same time there was a deep sense of sadness. Wang Lin didn't speak anymore and silently walked forward. The thunderous rumbles continued. The countless shadows bowed to him, and the endless aura of the three ancient clans entered the stars between his brows, his left eye, and his right eye. The earth was vast. As the rumbles from the statues collapsing echoed, the wind continued to howl. It seemed to be filled with sorrow, and the howling was like a murmur that kept talking about the past. After an unknown amount of time, a giant statue more than 10,000 feet tall appeared before him. This statue had 9 stars between its eyebrows. Although the 9th star was still blurry, it had taken shape. This was an ancient god statue that was infinitely close to obtaining the 9th star. It stood there with its right hand forming a fist, and it was swung halfway through the air. Its expression contained pain and reluctance as a force turned it into a statue. He wore a simple armor, but even that armor had become part of the statue. This was the highest level ancient god Wang Lin had seen. As Wang Lin stood before the ancient god statue, he could vaguely feel the shocking might of this ancient god. Its half-thrown punch seemed to be able to break open the world and kill countless cultivators. Its opened eyes revealed its reluctance. As long as you looked at its eyes, it was as if you could hear its angry roar from countless years ago. Standing before the statue, Wang Lin pondered for a moment. He clasped his hands and then waved them at the statue. Countless cracks silently appeared and quickly covered the entire statue. A thunderous rumble echoed as the statue began to collapse. However, just as it collapsed, a vortex appeared and rapidly rotated at the center of the 9 stars between the statue's eyebrows. As it rotated, the area between the eyebrows seemed to melt, and a sharp roar came from inside the vortex. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed. The moment the vortex appeared, he noticed something. He looked over with a cold gaze. A dried-up hand covered in mucus struggled to stretch out from the vortex. As the hand stretched out, a sinister aura spread out from inside the vortex. This aura came completely from this dried-up right hand. This hand seemed to represent death and contained endless might. Bursts of golden light came from this hand. The sharp roar became even more intense, and the dried-up hand grabbed the edge of the vortex as if it was trying to climb out. The roar became even more clear and earth-shattering. You disturbed the slumber of a celestial. You destroyed the embryo used for my healing. You have committed a capital offense. No matter where you came from, you are going to die. Not only are you going to die, but all your family members will die. You have destroyed my embryo for healing, so you will become my embryo. You. Noisy. Before that voice could finish speaking, Wang Lin let out a cold snort and interrupted. Wang Lin stepped forward and his right hand moved like lightning to grab the dried-up hand. There was a flash of coldness as Wang Lin pulled the person out. You're struggling so painfully. Let me help you come out. Get the hell out here. Wang Lin let out a roar and pulled hard. The statue collapsed completely and a thin, naked figure was pulled out. He mercilessly threw the person toward the ground. The earth trembled and a shock wave spread out. A giant hole appeared in the ground. Wang Lin charged into the hole. As long as there's someone alive, it is fine. I don't care if you're a celestial or a cultivator. I'll take your memory. A thunderous rumble echoed as Wang Lin turned into a bolt of thunder and charged at the figure that had smashed into the ground. As Wang Lin closed in, a muffled and angry roar came from the hole. What appeared with the roar were rays of golden light. This golden light was dim and contained a hint of purple, as if it wasn't pure. The moment the light appeared, a powerful force followed. It was as if a storm had collapsed inside the hole, and the force erupted inside it. Just as Wang Lin closed in, the dark golden light erupted and caused his hair and clothes to flutter. It was as if the golden light was trying to blow Wang Lin out of existence. You dare to attack me? You have offended the might of the Celestials, so you must die. The roar was filled with endless anger as a ray of golden light flew out. The thin figure was blurry, and one could only see the glaring dark golden light around him. Wang Lin let out a cold snort. He had broken the void gate to reach the mid-stage of spirit void. Even Celestials, ordinary ones, were not his match. The moment the thin figure charged out, Wang Lin stepped forward and casually reached ahead. The world changed colors and countless laws were grasped by Wang Lin and became distorted. It was as if his hand held the laws of the world and all of them had to obey him. The thin figure wanted to struggle, but no matter how badly he wanted to, it was useless. In the end, he let out a scream of terror, and Wang Lin grabbed the thin figure by the neck. Wang Lin mercilessly squeezed. A thunderous rumble came from the thin figure, making it seem like he was going to collapse. However, in the end, only blood mist erupted, but the body didn't collapse. Wang Lin was surprised. In his eyes, the thin figure was an old man who looked like nothing special. If there was anything special, it was that his body contained a mass of celestial blood. He looked very weak, but the strength of his body surprised Wang Lin. You, a lower realm cultivator, dare to attack a celestial? Why haven't you let this celestial go yet? Don't think you are powerful. If not for the fact that I was injured in the past, I could kill you with a pinch. The old man quickly roared. The haughtiness on his face revealed that he had often yelled at the so-called lower realm cultivators. Wang Lin's expression was calm, but after hearing the old man's words, there was a flash of coldness in his eyes. Wang Lin threw the old man into the air. Then he formed a seal and his palm pressed toward the old man. The world rumbled and the sky changed colors when this palm pressed toward the old man. A giant palm print appeared and began to absorb the power of the world. It descended from the sky with a thunderous rumble. It looked like as if it was going to destroy the sky and break a hole in the sky. The expression of the old man changed and his eyes were filled with disbelief. He let out a miserable scream as he tried to dodge, but the giant palm print instantly swept through the old man's body. The old man coughed out blood and popping sounds came from his body. His left hand trembled and collapsed into a pile of flesh and blood. The old man was terrified. He was still a little confused. In his memory, he was seriously injured during that war. In the end, he chose to enter an 8.5-star ancient god, and used its power to heal and survive until now. Over the countless years, his injuries were becoming for the better, only to realize that the ancient god he was using to heal had been destroyed. He awakened in anger and immediately recognized that Wang Lin wasn't a celestial, but an ant born in cave realm. As one of the celestial sovereign's immortal guards, he could dispose of these lower realm ants as he wished to vent his anger. It was due to this deep-rooted bias that he wanted to vent his anger and kill Wang Lin like before. However, before he could attack, Wang Lin used a shockingly powerful spell to grab him and pull him to the ground. This throw caused the old man to be filled with pain, but he didn't awaken. He just became even more angry. It wasn't until Wang Lin squeezed his neck and crushed his left arm that he became afraid. Only now did he awaken and realize that this person was different from the lower realm ants that always knelt before the celestials. Heaven-defying cultivator. You're a lower realm heaven-defying cultivator. The old man's voice was filled with disbelief. His body trembled and he rapidly retreated. Wang Lin's expression was calm and waved his sleeve as he walked forward. He arrived directly before the old man. Then his palm slammed down. There was a thunderous bang and the old man let out a miserable scream before coughing out blood. He was seriously injured again. His body stumbled backwards and his eyes were filled with monstrous fear. Impossible. Back then, Master set up the divine retribution to prevent the appearance of heaven-defying cultivators. With the divine retribution, third step heaven-defying cultivators can't appear. This is impossible. Forget Master, even in all of the immortal astral continent, there have never been any ants of the lower realm who reached the third step as a heaven-defying cultivator. This. The old man wiped away the blood and suddenly turned around with a miserable smile. There was madness in his eyes. He was a celestial, so of course had method to save himself in a desperate situation. He was someone who had experienced that great war back then. Anyone who survived that battle was not weak. His hands formed a seal and he bit the tip of his tongue to spit out golden blood. However, just as he spat out the blood, Wang Lin's eyes lit up. Wang Lin calmly raised his right hand and pointed at the old man. Stop! The old man trembled and the blood froze in the air before him. His body lost all movement. Even the flow of time had stopped inside his body. However, this old man was a celestial. The moment he was frozen, there was a monstrous shock from his mind that shook his soul. Void stop spell. This is the celestial sovereign's great spell. Void stop spell. How does he know this spell? How did he learn it? Who passed it to him? His thoughts stopped when he was hit by the stop spell. Wang Lin calmly arrived before the old man and looked at his horrified expression. He raised his hand and placed it on the old man's forehead. Let me see what happened back then. When Wang Lin's right hand landed, his powerful divine sense rushed into the old man's head like a flood. His divine sense silently howled as it rushed into the old man's divine sense and body. Popping sounds came from the old man's body and his expression became distorted, as if he was suffering unimaginable pain. He began bleeding from his orifices and his body trembled violently. After a moment of intense pain, the stop spell on the old man dissipated slightly. The old man let out a miserable scream. He wanted to break free from Wang Lin, but no matter how much he struggled, Wang Lin's right hand was as stable as a mountain and clutched the old man's head. He had no chance to escape at all. The miserable roar caused the old man's body to become covered in sweat. Despair appeared in his eyes and his face was deathly pale. You have committed the crime of killing a celestial. You will die. I'm Lord Sovereign Soldier Celestial. I have the blood of a celestial. You kill me today. He will deliver retribution on you. That's a load of crap. Wang Lin's expression was calm and his right hand tightened, his divine sense rushing into the old man's mind. Wang Lin wanted to take his memories. Deep within the ancient celestial realm, at the center of all these statues, there were 4 huge statues of the 3 ancient clans. The surroundings were completely silent, as if it was always like this since ancient times. At this moment, a hoarse voice echoed from one of the statues. Vermilion bird, your descendants' cultivation is not weak, but it's a bit arrogant to want to search the memory of a soldier celestial. Although they aren't as powerful as us, they still have the celestial bloodline. How could a mere ant search their memory? A voice filled with mockery echoed. He has entered the 3rd step and broken the divine retribution to get here. He even shattered the 9th sun and taken his own fate back. This feat is incredible and he did it. White Tiger, you mock him, but if you were the lower realm cultivator, could you do this? A cold and ancient voice came from another statue. If it was me, it doesn't mean I couldn't do it. Us Celestials have seals on our memory placed by the Celestial Sovereign. It is a great fortune that the core of my 7 Dao sect can enjoy. I'm not surprised that this little ant can seriously injure a recovering soldier celestial, but I'm confident he will find his own death if he tries to break open the Celestial Sovereign's seal. Enough, why are you guys quarreling? Vermilion bird, your descent is indeed a bit too arrogant. What if he dies to the Celestial Sovereign's seal? Will that have an impact on your plan? Another voice came from the 3rd statue. After pondering for a bit, the vermilion bird's voice echoed. He was originally not part of my plan. I'm a bit surprised he is the first one to come here. This child is not ordinary. He is the first heaven-defying cultivator to reach the 3rd step. Unfortunately, he is a lower realm cultivator. If he was from the immortal astral continent, he would be famous. However, he should not try to soul search that soldier celestial. The seal from the Celestial Sovereign is something not even we can break if we join forces. I fear he would die in less than 15 minutes. Unfortunate, it is a pity. A 4th voice filled with regret came from the last statue. Their voices gradually dissipated and silence returned. Even the vermilion bird let out a sigh in his heart. He knew Wang Lin, but he didn't think Wang Lin could break the Celestial Sovereign's seal. The old man's divine sense had already formed its own realm, and there was a thick layer of fog around it that prevented Wang Lin's divine sense from entering. This wasn't the first time Wang Lin had encountered this situation. When he had searched the woman in silver's memory, he encountered the same thing. The 7-colored figure had appeared in her sealed memory. Today Wang Lin found this thick fog once more in this old man's divine sense. He paused for a moment, and his divine sense began to gather outside the fog. Soon Wang Lin's figure appeared outside the fog. This was a bizarre scene. Outside in the ancient celestial realm, Wang Lin had his eyes closed and his right hand was pressed down on the trembling old man's forehead. However, inside Wang Lin's divine sense, his origin soul was inside the old man's mind. He looked just like how he did on the outside. Wang Lin's origin soul wore a white robe and had white hair. He stood there, looking at the churning fog before him. This fog contained a powerful pressure that was like a seal. This seal could stop all soul-searching spells. The woman in silver has a seal like this, and this old man has this seal as well. Interesting, it seems every celestial under the Celestial Sovereign has this seal. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and gradually shined brightly. Back then, his cultivation was lacking and had to give up outside the fog. Aside from his cultivation level, there was another reason. It didn't matter if he was successful in breaking the fog or not, but it would cause the woman in silver a great deal of harm. However, Wang Lin wouldn't feel even a hint of guilt toward the old man. There was no hatred between them, and the old man's sins didn't warrant death. If Wang Lin hadn't found out that the inner and outer realms were just a cave, Wang Lin wouldn't kill him. However, now Wang Lin had understood everything. There was a difficult-to-explain hatred that Wang Lin felt toward the Celestial Sovereign and all the Celestials under him. In particular, the disappearance of Li Muan's fate caused this hatred to reach a peak. With a cold snort, Wang Lin stepped toward the fog inside the old man's mind. His figure moved like a meteor and closed in on the fog. He waved his right hand and a storm shot toward the fog. The storm pushed the fog apart and in the blink of an eye, An opening appeared before Wang Lin. The moment the opening appeared, Wang Lin stepped forward and disappeared inside the fog. Inside the fog, Wang Lin quickly moved forward, and the fog before him moved apart on its own, forming a passage. Wang Lin gradually entered the depths of the fog. Just as he entered the depths of the fog, 7-colored light appeared in the fog before him. The 7-colored light was extremely glaring in the dark fog, and Wang Lin couldn't help but squint. As Wang Lin looked over, he saw a middle-aged man kneeling in the depths of the fog that was being penetrated by the 7-colored light. The middle-aged man had his eyes closed and his body was surrounded by 7-colored light. He gave off a monstrous pressure that would make all living beings tremble before him and prevent them from taking half a step. This 7-colored man was not the 7-colored person he met in the 7-colored realm in the brilliant void, but the real body of the 7-colored statue in his storage space. This was the second time Wang Lin had seen this person. He pondered a bit and there was a flash of coldness in his eyes as he stepped forward without hesitation. His right hand formed a seal and the inside of the old man's mind rumbled. A huge palm print appeared before Wang Lin and penetrated the fog, flying toward the middle-aged man. This man was a seal that prevented anyone from searching the memory of the celestials under him. The large palm print instantly closed in on the kneeling middle-aged man and penetrated him. However, the moment the palm print penetrated the middle-aged man, it silently collapsed. This scene was extremely bizarre. If you looked closely, you would see that the palm print didn't even hit the middle-aged man but collapsed 3 inches away from him. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed. The moment the palm print collapsed, he pointed forward. A blast of air shot out from Wang Lin's finger toward the middle-aged man. This time, Wang Lin looked carefully, and he saw the blast silently disappear 3 inches before the middle-aged man. Wang Lin stared at the middle-aged man and stepped forward. He personally arrived before the middle-aged man and his 2 fingers formed a sword. His ancient god stars rotated and large amounts of ancient god power entered his 2 fingers. Right now, his 2 fingers contained enough power to shatter the earth or even destroy a cultivation planet. His 2 fingers gave off a thunderous rumble as they closed in on the middle-aged man. In a flash, his fingers was 3 inches away. When Wang Lin entered the 3-inch barrier, his eyes shined and he saw his fingers rapidly collapse. There was no pain, but he could clearly see his fingers disintegrate. In just an instant, a small portion of his 2 fingers had disintegrated. That 3-inch area was like a boundary, and anything that passed it would be disintegrated. If he had tried to reach in by force, his right hand would have disappeared without a trace before even touching the middle-aged man. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed and he pulled back his right hand. He retreated a few steps and calmly looked at the middle-aged man. Then he looked at his 2 fingers that didn't have any wounds but were missing a portion. What a strange power! Wang Lin murmured as his ancient god power filled his body and entered his fingers. The flesh around his fingers slowly moved and regrew a section. After pondering a bit, Wang Lin hesitated. With the seal from the middle-aged man there, obtaining the memories of the old man would be difficult but not impossible. However, this required a certain price, and Wang Lin was calculating if the price was worth it. Was the old man's memory worth Wang Lin doing whatever it took? He silently pondered, and in his mind, images of his life appeared. Moments when he suspected the world, until the day he found out that his own world was just a cave. I want to know the reason for all of this, the truth about this cave. Wang Lin's eyes were filled with determination as closed them. A moment later, he suddenly opened his eyes, and his 7 ancient god stars started rotating rapidly. The ancient demon and ancient devil stars in his left and right eyes also rotated. Soon starlight surrounded his body. The ancient god, ancient demon and ancient devil energies filled Wang Lin's body. His origin soul seemed to turn corporeal and began to distort. Behind him, the shadow of an ancient god slowly formed. To the left, an ancient devil shadow appeared. And to the right, an ancient demon shadow appeared. This was the first time the 3 ancient clans had appeared behind Wang Lin at the same time. This meant that the auras of these 3 clans were moving through his origin soul. Behind the shadows of these 3 clans was the giant head of the Ancient One. The ancient head hid the sky and covered the earth. Wang Lin's origin soul rapidly expanded. However, before it completely expanded, Wang Lin compressed it, causing thunderous rumbles to echo in his body. After suppressing it for a long time, Wang Lin's body maintained its original size, but now his body contained the shocking power of the ancient clans. With this power, Wang Lin's recovery ability had reached a terrifying degree, but he wasn't satisfied. According to his analysis, this amount of recovery was not enough to break through the 3-inch barrier outside the middle-aged man's body. With a roar, Wang Lin gathered all his ancient power in his right index finger. His right index finger gave off a terrifying aura that could shake the ancient celestial realm. With this aura, this finger could be considered an immortal finger. This was the 7th origin spell he comprehended during his dream Tao, Ancient Immortal Finger. The Ancient Immortal Finger condensed the power of the 3 ancient clans into one finger. While it possessed a terrifying offensive power, it also had a terrifying recovery ability. This amount of recovery force could be called immortal by Wang Lin. This was enough to show how terrifying it was. Immortal meant that the recovery force could offset all destruction from the heavens and earth. Only then could it be considered immortal. With Wang Lin's cultivation level, he couldn't make this entire body immortal. He could only make one finger become immortal. This ancient immortal finger was a powerful spell he had comprehended by borrowing what he had experienced in his immortal celestial body. It didn't need celestial energy, all it needed was ancient power, but its effect was no weaker than the immortal celestial body. Wang Lin stared at the middle-aged man not far away and looked at the 7-colored light. There was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes as he stepped forward and his ancient immortal finger shot toward the area between the middle-aged man's eyebrows. This point looked slow, but it was as fast as lightning. In an instant, his finger was 3 inches away from the middle-aged man. Wang Lin's finger began to collapse and disintegrate at a terrifying rate. If it was before, this collapse would be irreversible. No power or matter could get within 3 inches of the middle-aged man. However, at this moment, Wang Lin's finger recovered like crazy as it collapsed. The recovery was very much visible with this rapid collapse. You could see Wang Lin's finger reforming as it collapsed. The 3-inch distance was very short, but for Wang Lin it felt extremely long. His finger continued to collapse and recover. The cycle was endless. As Wang Lin's finger pushed further past the 3-inch barrier, the collapse became even more intense. In almost an instant, his finger would collapse 100,000, 1,000,000, 10 million times, but in turn it would recover 100,000, 1,000,000, 10 million times. This was the ancient immortal finger. This recovery could no longer be classified as a spell. This was something that should not exist in this world. The further he went, the more terrifying the collapse was. When Wang Lin's finger was almost 3 inches in and touching the area between the middle-aged man's eyebrows, the rate of collapse was already indescribable. In the end, Wang Lin's recovery rate had exceeded the rate of collapse and his finger completely recovered. He ignored the terrifying collapsing force and his finger landed between the eyebrows of the middle-aged man. A thunderous rumble that swept through the old man's body echoed. It contained enough power to destroy a planet, and it had erupted from Wang Lin's finger and the middle-aged man at the same time. Thunderous rumbles echoed and shook the surrounding area. The fog around Wang Lin's origin soul collapsed, and the thunderous rumble caused the old man's mind to also collapse. This affected the old man's body, and his body began to collapse as well. The middle-aged man releasing the 7-colored light trembled. Under this powerful force, his body became distorted and slowly dissipated. As his body disappeared, a golden crystal the size of a fist appeared. Fine cracks appeared on it and it was about to collapse. This crystal was the memory of the old man. The seal was too domineering. Not only did it prevent others from searching the memory, but once it was broken, it would shatter the memory so the person searching couldn't obtain it. It was a very well-calculated plan, but unfortunately this was Wang Lin. Not only did Wang Lin have the ancient immortal finger that could counter the collapsing force, he also had the stop spell. At this critical moment, Wang Lin didn't hesitate. His extended right index finger and pointed at the memory crystal. Stop! With one word, the collapsing memory crystal paused. At this moment, Wang Lin's divine sense swept through the memory crystal, and then rushed out from the old man's collapsing mind, returning into his body. The moment his origin soul returned to his body, he raised his right hand from the screaming old man's forehead. He retreated back several steps. When he retreated, The old man's miserable scream reached a limit. Thunderous rumbles came from his body, and he began to collapse from the inside. The power from his mind destroyed his mind, killed his origin soul, crushed his bones, ripped open his flesh, and erupted outward. The old man's body was torn apart by the power erupting from his body, and as his flesh and blood dissipated, a powerful impact spread in all directions. The power of this impact shattered the surrounding statues Wang Lin hadn't destroyed yet. Some of them had celestials healing inside as well, but they didn't even get to open their eyes before the impact killed them in their sleep. This shockwave was the collision of Wang Lin's ancient power and celestial power. This also included the power of the seal from the seven-colored middle-aged man. This destructive force was powerful enough to shake the world. The moment the old man's body exploded, deep inside the ancient celestial realm, where the four towering statues were, the white tiger let out a roar filled with disbelief, shock, and terror. This is impossible. How did he do it? How did he break the celestial sovereign's seal? The 3 inches of that seal have enough power to destroy everything. There is no way to harm it at all. All spell will disintegrate before it. How could he break a seal like that? Even when we were at our peak, we couldn't break it. As the sound came from the vortex, a white-haired old man leaned out, and his face was filled with shock. The other 3 were also shocked. Since ancient times, I had never heard of anyone breaking the celestial sovereign's seal. Even the other powerful sovereigns on the immortal astral continent would find it extremely difficult to break. After all, this is a spell created by the celestial sovereign, and it is the ultimate method of protecting the secrets of the core disciples of my 7 Dao sect. He is only a lower realm ant, but he was actually able to break it. In the other statue, the black tortoise walked out with horror and disbelief in his eyes. If he hadn't witnessed it with his own divine sense, he wouldn't believe it was real. This child is not ordinary. We need to change our plan for this person. The fact that he can break the celestial sovereign seal means he has a shocking spell. Such a spell would even be enough to shock the celestial immortal continent. An old man walked out from the vortex in the 3rd statue. He looked into the distance and gasped. The vermilion bird didn't speak. He looked at the world inside the vortex and his expression continued to change. As the old man collapsed, Wang Lin retreated from the erupting force. His expression remained calm as he looked into the distance and revealed a sneer. They were able to see him, but Wang Lin had also long sensed their presence. Wang Lin withdrew his gaze. His ancient immortal finger would point forward several times, and every time he pointed, the impact would dissipate a bit. His index finger continued to collapse and regenerate until he ripped open a gap in the shockwave. Wang Lin walked out from that gap. As the impact swept by, everything within millions of kilometers became a complete ruin. The rumble continued for a long time before it slowly dissipated. Now it sounded like a muffled thunder coming from the distance. Wang Lin floated into the sky and looked down at the earth that had become a ruin. The gust of dust formed a storm that covered the earth. His white hair fluttered and his clothes flapped, but he was extremely calm. He gave off the grace a 3rd step mid-stage spirit void cultivator should have. He waved his right hand and light golden crystal covered in cracks appeared in his hand. This crystal contained the memories of the old man's entire life. However, these memories couldn't checked with divine sense. Even if Wang Lin's cultivation level was higher, he still wouldn't be able to see the old man's memories. A celestial's memories could only be looked at by someone with the celestial bloodline. This was a hidden restriction, and even though Wang Lin was of the ancient clan, he still couldn't view it. This was a difference in level, just like how if an ant were to obtain the memory of an elephant, the ant wouldn't be able to comprehend it. However, Wang Lin was different. He had the golden drop of celestial blood, that was his immortal celestial body. Even on the immortal astral continent, it was extremely pure. With this blood, Wang Lin could look at the memories as easily as reading a book. The moment he closed his eyes, he seemed to enter a fantasy world. He saw a strange continent. This continent was extremely wide, and even the owner of the memories had never seen the end of the continent. The furthest the owner of the memories went had been about several inner and outer realms of distance, but that was less than 1/10,000th of the continent. The most dazzling thing on this continent was the 9 suns in the sky. These 9 suns hung in the sky and their light shrouded the earth. After absorbing the old man's memories, when Wang Lin saw the 9 suns, he found a memory that held an ancient legend. The legend was that the 9 suns on the immortal astral continent represented the 9 Grand Empyrean. Even the old man's master, the person from the 7-colored statue, hadn't reached this level. Legend had it that 9 was the limit. It was said that if a 10th sun appeared, the immortal astral continent would undergo endless calamity. The old man was born on this continent. As he grew up, he entered a sect. It was called the 7 Dao sect. The 7 Dao sect's masters were a Dao couple. One of them was the person from the 7-colored statue. He was called the 7-colored celestial sovereign. His cultivation was mysterious. He had established his own sect and had gathered a lot of disciples. Over the tens of thousands of years since the sect was founded, the sect faced many crises. But in the end, the danger was defused by the Dao couple, and they slowly became famous in the region. As time passed, the old man eventually became one of the 100 soldier celestials, a powerful expert in the 7 Dao sect. He was only below the vermilion bird, azure dragon, white tiger, and black tortoise. His status was very high, and he could obtain any laws and pills he wanted. Until one day, in this old man's memory, glaring light came from outside the 7 Dao sect. An aura that terrified even him shrouded the land. Under this pressure, 2 suns that shouldn't appear at night appeared before the frightened old man. The 2 suns that had suddenly appeared in the night gave off endless light. The old man trembled and remembered this scene profoundly. He remembered the legend and what the sun represented. While feeling endless fear, he heard rumbles and roars that caused his orifices to bleed. His mind trembled and he passed out. The moment before he passed out, he sensed the sect master and his Dao partner charge out toward where 2 suns would be colliding. It wasn't until several days later that the old man awakened. He bitterly found that his cultivation had fallen a few levels. A few months later, the 7 Dao sect's master returned alone. Although his expression was gloomy, his eyes were bright. The 7-colored celestial sovereign didn't mention where his Dao partner had gone. Instead, he took some of his disciples, several celestial imperial concubines, the 100 soldiers, and the 4 generals into the cave. He sealed the cave and left countless seal marks on it. He even took out some treasures the owner of the memory had never seen to seal the cave. The memory became fragmented due to the cracks on the crystal. The memories were broken and existed like fragments. However, Wang Lin saw a woman inside a memory fragment. She wore a silver dress and was one of the celestial sovereign's maids. Wang Lin was familiar with this woman. When he saw her, he gradually formed a clear connection with the past. This woman was the silver female corpse inside Wang Lin's storage space that was afraid of the 7-colored statue. In another memory fragment, Wang Lin saw the 7-colored celestial sovereign, also known as the ancient celestial emperor by the inner realm. He was the same as the 7-colored statue. He brought everyone to the cave and sealed the entrance and exit. He then left and went off to do something. The celestial imperial concubines, soldiers, and 4 generals didn't know what the celestial sovereign was doing. However, no one dared to inquire, so they all found a place to go into closed-door cultivation and waited for the celestial sovereign to summon them. Until one day, a gloomy voice came outside the cave. This voice awakened everyone that was cultivating and waiting for their master. 7-colored Dao sovereign, you went as far as to leave behind your own Dao partner, so you must have obtained a great treasure. You left clues to lure me here. This ancient one wants to see what kind of tricks you have up your sleeve. The old man was unfamiliar with this voice, but the voice contained a powerful pressure. The old man's mind trembled and he opened his eyes. What he heard next caused him to feel extreme fear. Ancient One Yemo, I invited you here, but you say it is a trick. Whether it's a trick or not, you will know when you see it. The old man knew the name of Ancient One Yemo very well. As a sovereign of the ancient country, Ancient One Yemo was very famous. What happened next was a break in the memory, so Wang Lin didn't see what happened. What Wang Lin saw was the last memory fragment. In that memory fragment he saw a chaotic battle. But it was blurry, so he couldn't see who was participating in the battle at all. He could only see that the 100 guards, 4 generals, and several celestial imperial concubines were all attacking 3 people. Those 3 people were a complete blur and the golden light was glaring, making it impossible to clearly see who it was. The battle lasted for a long time until many people had died. One of the three released a powerful golden light and laughed. He swept the people of the Seven Dao sect away and charged at a stone door. This king personally came. "Little seven-colored sovereign, you still haven't come out and kneeled before me." The laugh echoed from the man covered in the golden light, but Wang Lin's mind trembled when he heard this voice. Just as he closed in on the stone door, a monstrous roar came from the stone door. The memory ended here. Wang Lin suddenly opened his eyes and the memory crystal he had pressed against his forehead collapsed into powder and disappeared with the wind. The madman's voice. Wang Lin took a deep breath and his divine sense entered his storage space. He saw that the madman was still sleeping and had a silly smile on his face. While pondering, Wang Lin had a gloomy expression. The memories had helped him resolve a lot of questions but also raised more doubt. I know about ancient One Yemo, and I also had some speculations about the madman arriving. In addition, the woman in silver said it wasn't her who had opened the door. Could this door be the door the madman entered through? The result of that war was the madman losing his mind and going insane. The ancient celestial realm became a ruin and the remnants of the Seven Dao sect all went into closed-door cultivation. The master of the cave, the sect master of the Seven Dao sect, the seven-colored celestial sovereign, was also seriously injured. It is unknown if that is true or not. If it is true, then what they were fighting for may be the so-called heavenly Dao, or the heaven-defying bead. What is the relationship between the heaven-defying bead and the heavenly Dao? The heaven-defying bead is part of a compass treasure, so it is unlikely to be the heavenly Dao. What is it and where did it come from? Wang Lin frowned and his eyes lit up. Also, I knew from the scattered Thunder clan that years after the war, a group of mysterious foreign cultivators appeared in the outer realm. The Soul Lasher was one of their weapons. Who are these people? Wang Lin vaguely had a feeling that he had lifted a veil and was getting close to the answer of what happened countless years ago.